Hello. Oh my gosh, my camera's all wrong. Hold on. My camera's in the wrong place. What are you doing? Oh, I guess that's actually okay. Good morning. Good morning, friends. How are you? How are you? Good morning, Badge. I woke up a little late, so I apologize that I don't know the actual I don't know. Hi, good morning. Hi, Kim Thompson. How are you, bud? Hey, bud. I think it's almost time for a meetup again. Hi, Oomph. Good morning. How are you, everyone? Happy Tuesday. It's Wake and Bake with Lolo. Hi, Lee. Oh my gosh. I love it. Good morning. Good morning, my love. I hope you are well. I hope you slept well. I hope everyone had a good night. I did. I had a good night. I had a space with Jim and Gal and Jay Rants. And that's always fun. I really enjoyed that. I have emotions. My friends are much better in fact, all my friends are so much better at, moderating their emotions. And I always struggle with that. Just in terms of those encounters when I want to say what I want to say, right? I know, Max. I know. Yeah. So I just am not as some things get me, and I can't help myself. And I know that's me problem. It's not anybody problem, but it's a me problem. It is something I'm working on. Because I would rather be, more measured, more Christian Amanpour, if you will. I always try to channel Christian Amanpour. It never works. So it's not Christiane's fault at all. It's my fault. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. I don't know. It was really fun to catch up with them, though, in voice. I will say that. Sorry. Oh, I missed that. I was driving. Oh, girl, I know. Get it, girl. Get it, girl. Love you, Kim. Meowing. Good morning. Good morning to my friends. How are you all today? It's gonna be Tuesday. You probably already watched the Pete Hegseth thing, but I didn't. I was asleep, so I didn't watch it. So I was gonna watch it. Yeah. Oh boy. Anyway. Oh, did he not go until did they say 5 a.m. or 8 a.m. Eastern time and they didn't go until later? Because that only ended 45 minutes ago. So that's literally 5:45. Oh, I guess that's fine. Anyways, it's really nice to see everyone. It's a great Tuesday. I have my Eat the Rich shirt on today. My No War shirt is coming, so I've got that, which is unfortunately, I think, a shirt that's going to be evergreen in its use. Hello, easily distracted. Oh my gosh, you're here. So nice to see you. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great night. I had fun. It's just fun to hear. I love hearing Jim and Gal and Jay talk about the stuff that they have looked into or what they've done. How about Highland Park's ice alarms? Really? Interesting. Okay. When's that happening? Is it ongoing? Hello, Carrie. Hello, Carrie. How are you today? It's time to listen to a horrible man. Okay. Because that's what we do here at the lounge. We listen to things we don't want to. But that's why we know what's happening. And that's what we do it. Hi, Sharon Brown. You beat Neil. Where is Neil? Oh, my God. Oh, Neil may not realize it's a half hour early. It's hard to pick that up sometimes. I try to let people know, but it's not. Yeah. I could see where people are like, Neil might think it's still in a half hour. I don't know. Well, I blame Pete Pig's breath, okay? I actually blame Pete Pig's breath. I think, they're up ABC 7. Oh, shit. Okay, hold on. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim. ABC 7. At least it's not Fox 11 and that horrible Sid guy. Oh my God. I've actually complained to the fucking floor producer about the Sid guy or whoever that guy is that goes,
Pay attention if you travel at 605 southbound coming out of El Monte. 605 southbound at Slauson and Whittier. We have a 3-car crash in the carpool lane, and it just
let
doesn't
me
take
see.
much to really cause delays
Oh, they
on
don't
the
let you go
605
back in
freeway
their
southbound. I think the
stream.
drive coming down towards Whittier Boulevard
If
into
you lose
Whittier
your
is going to get
cool in an
worse.
interaction,
It's
they
a
win.
three-vehicle
Yeah,
accident
totally.
blocking the carpool lane. It just happened,
Lunatics
so expect some
Anonymous
pretty busy
easily.
delays there. In
Okay,
West
well,
LA, or I should say mid-6.
All right. Right now it's just the traffic, but I know what you mean. The Highland Park. I can look for it. Hold on. Maybe see someone Highland Park. Fucking ice. God damn it. Okay, they don't have the live up of that or the replay of that. Yeah, no, that's not. That's all old stuff. Shit. God damn it. God damn it. It's just not. It's not ending. Hello. It gets a little calmer maybe because I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure why, but gets a little calmer and then all of a sudden, oh, it was an article. I'm so sorry because I did see them doing some kind of activity. Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. Oh, fuck yes. Fuck yes. Great story. Hi, Teresa. I'm concerned at the moment as number one daughter is stuck in Sri Lanka. Oh, no. Refueling in the Middle East. Oh, gosh, Carrie. Oh, okay. We're holding Carrie's daughter in our thoughts. I am so sorry, Carrie. I hope that things are calm. There's a lot of people getting through. A lot of trips, of course, are happening just fine. So we're just going to hold your daughter in our thoughts because that's a lot. That's a lot to worry about. I would be really worried, and I understand that. Yeah, fucking fucks. God, these fucking fucks. I'm telling you. Good morning, Teresa. How are you? Oh, Carrie, I love you. Dump is rude. Yeah, everything. Like everyone's lives are impacted negatively in some way. How is that what you voted for? I'll never understand that. How is this what you voted for? I don't get it. Anyway, God. Hi, Dan. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. I want to show you what Kim was talking about here in Los Angeles. Let me see. Oops, I don't have it pulled up. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So sorry. Ah. Okay. This is what we're talking about. This is the Highland Park. Highland Park's a neighborhood in part of Los Angeles. And so look at this. Highland Park is installing emergency sirens to warn of ice raids. This is good. Activists in Highland Park are setting up emergency sirens throughout the neighborhood in an effort to warn people of immigration enforcement activity. I love it. I love that. Oh, what a good idea. That's an excellent idea. I think that's an excellent idea. What a great thing. People are so good. Is it time for coffee? Dan, it is very much time for coffee. It was very much time for coffee. Yeah. This that space was a trip. It really got crazy, didn't it, Sharon? There was like so many of the crazy characters that we've interacted with, and then they all came at once. Yeah, I don't get along with the Moore brothers. I never have. They don't like me. I don't like them. And nobody likes them. I'm not saying that, but they've been useful idiots. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it that way. They've been useful idiots. Maybe not to me, but to certain people. So I'm okay with that. But I will draw the line. If you come for my friends, if you say something stupid, because that's what they were doing. They were doing that stupid, like, rage baiting the whole night, right? Like, whatever. So that you start to insult my friends and start putting your stupid little, pink MAGA shit all over it. I'm going to come for you. I'm going to come for you so hard, and you're never going to sleep. And you just don't come for my friends. That's one thing you don't do. You just don't. Oh, follow ice. Lyft is on. That's true. Lyft, you can hide in Lyft. There you go, Kim. You got to be careful, girl. Please be careful. Please, I know you. And you're a very brave soul, Kim Thompson. So I need you to be really careful because I love you so much. And if anything, if you ever got hassled, I'd be so super mad about it. So please just be careful because I don't want you to get hurt. We got to hang out again. We haven't hung out since the Jimmy Kimmel stuff. God, Kim, what's wrong with us? Okay, let's see. So we're going to watch. I haven't watched the Pete Pig's Breath thing. Sorry. Yeah, Kim. I know. I just had wine. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay. We're going to do this stupid little thing. We're going to do the stupid thing. Yeah, she is a resistor. She is a resistor. Let me tell you. That woman puts her mouth where her mouth is. Like her she walks the talk, and I'm really delighted to be her friend. Good. I'm so glad. Okay. Good congressman. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. If you have a good congressman, it could be easier to do that. It was definitely interesting to hear those. Yeah, exactly. I know that I can imagine if you're new to the whatever cast of characters that have existed on Twitter in our lives, I guess is a way to put it. Yeah, they're really interesting. And, I mean, here's the thing, Jim is such a patient person. I don't think people understand how patient he is. And that his intention with all of this work around Q, where he got interested in that and then understood more about what it was trying to do to people and the similarities between ARG games and what was happening in the country. I mean, I think that he has truly always been attempting to help people figure out how this has fucked them, right? And I kind of interrupted it last night by being mad, but and not, it wasn't my fault. I'm not saying that, but I can also I think he actually is really trying with people to meet them where they are, but still to tell them the honest truth, right? And he really does care about this mind fucking that has happened to many people in the country. And the Moore brothers are mind fucked. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They truly believe that this regime is going to save children. They believe all the Q shit. Oh, it's recorded. They believe all of those things. They're true believers. And one of them's a lawyer, I think. So they're not not worldly, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. They've had time in the real world, I guess. But for some reason, they're very much embedded in this kind of thought thing. And they think Jim is, fascinating because he's and they're big Flynn fans. One of them, I think, works on a Flynn project. I don't know all the details. Gal and Jim know better. But they've been around for a minute, more behind the scenes, I guess. I don't know, really. But, they live on another planet. Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, they've convinced themselves that that there is a baby-eating cabal in the world, and it's not them. and it's not any of their friends, which, okay. I mean, I would probably do that too. But yeah, and then last night those things bug me. It bugs me only when they treat this situation as one of their little head games where they're gonna rage bait people into saying shit and stuff like that. And Jim and Gal too. Gal they don't fall for that. They just play. They just kind of take the bullshit and keep going. Just keep calm and carry on. So they're far better equipped to discuss and extract information, which that is part of my interest in being in a space with people like them or One Eye. You might ask, why in the world do you want to be in a space with people that are so fucking antithetical to what you believe? And it's because I am learning from them about how messaging gets down, gets embedded. And it's fascinating. I find every interaction with One Eye, for example, interesting because I learn a little bit more about what it's like to live in his world, right? Where Peter Thiel and the new sphere and all that is something he wants. I don't understand who would want that. So I also take those opportunities just to kind of listen to what are the words they're using, what's the parlor trick that they're into right now. So anyway, and I get that that's not everybody's jam. Okay, by the way, I totally understand. If that's not your jam, I am right behind you. I can only take it in small doses, but I do find it interesting, and that's why people like that are entertained in a space, because it's really it's kind of an on the ground, back and forth with someone who's really like seriously in deep. So yeah, all to say, Jim and Gal are far more patient than I will ever be, and that's fine because you know what? It takes all kinds of friends to be on this earth, and sometimes you're the friend that says inappropriate things right in the faces of people that are being stupid. And sometimes you're the person who can really talk through what's happening for them and how they understand the world and seek to help fill in gaps and plant seeds and things like that. I mean, Jim is really good about doing stuff like that. I am not so much. Because I also am not really good. I just don't have any patience for fools. That's my problem. And this is why I'm probably a terrible, like an interviewer. I would probably be a terrible interviewer because I just can't hide I can't hide my emotions. And that's not what an interviewer should be, right? Like that's literally not what an interviewer should be. Anyways. They'd make a great anthropologist. Oh my God, they are. Meowing Star, that is, I mean, I know it might seem like, oh, this is kind of just stupid and K-Fab and all this stuff. Well, it's not. First of all, it's not K-Fab. I really don't like those guys. And, whatever. But it is a living anthropology. It's a living dig site. Okay, spaces are a dig site in my mind. And I just try to get more and more information about how do the messages flow down so that people like One Eye, talk like he does and values what he does, right? What they value is really interesting because I feel like it's at the value level that we might be different, So I find that stuff interesting. Language is I'm a big language nerd, right? I'm a big... I don't know what they call that. It's like linguistic, not tags. I can't remember what it's called. Max, I cultivate empathy and reduce threat. Use Socratic method. Avoid overloading with counter arguments. Represent their viewpoint in its strongest iteration before explaining why it might be wrong. Oh, that's interesting. Oh my God, my husband let me sleep in. He's so sweet. Oh, good morning, Gal. I was just talking about this space last night and how you and Jim are far more patient and you don't necessarily take you certainly don't take the Moore brothers and all that stuff to the serious point, more than just engaging in conversation. So I usually lose my cool with them because I don't like them and they don't like me, and that's it. That is what it is, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. Hi, Kelly White. How are you, girl? Oh my gosh. Is it spring break? It must be spring break, right? Because Congress is out, so they're in spring break. Bitches. Okay, so unfortunately, I know all of you probably watched the fucking Pig's Breath show, but I did not watch the Pig's Breath show. It was a great space because those are the interactions that I think yield the most kind of information and juice for me. And that's just speaking from my own perspective. So that is why I enjoyed that space. And I think it's fun that it was One Eye and the Moore brothers. Very interesting. Two parts of the sphere, if you will, that are very different from each other in some ways, very alike in another. Jim did have some good rebuttals. And I was just saying, Jim is very patient. Jim actually has a strong desire to help people through this time. He wants people to get through the Q shit so that we can have shared facts and other things. And he's doing it in the way that he wants to do it. And I find it much more patient. Certainly, I'm not trying to, have that type of conversation with them, but he is. And I think there should be people to have conversations and to be a little bit more, although he was not really nice. I wouldn't say nice is what we are. I think some of us can be civil. Your grandkiddos are on spring break. I was too stoned to have that much patience. I just want to make fun of them. I know, gal. You want to play with the food, and I'm right there with you, girl. You know how I love to play with my food, and you're very good at that. So I'm glad actually everyone got to see the Moore brothers in action, because that really, for me, encapsulated who the fuck they are. All right, let's watch Pig's Breath. Ay. And then I have a lot of great articles this morning, and I hope that my friends bring in articles too, because I love you. All right, let's see what we got here. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. I make my food. Think it's going to be dinner with me, but they're in the driver. They're the dinner. I know. They think they're going to come in and play with gal and tease. And then all of a sudden, the tables are turned and somebody's munching on your arm. That's right. That's what happens. It was a good one, Kim. It was an active one. It was worth it. We should have that conversation that came up at the end. I can't remember now exactly how it was put, but yeah, we should go ahead. It was an achievement. Yeah. You can't convince people to change. Yeah, okay. I don't know if change is really okay. Well, I'm not going to have that argument with you right now. I think what Jim does is absolutely valid, and I think he's trying to be a human. And, that is, I think he knows more about this and how to talk to people in queue than I ever will. And that's fine. That's his strength. But I don't agree. I think people can change. I don't think his goal is to really change, but I think it's he's trying to find common ground, right? And when you do that, it's hard for them to kind of wiggle out of it. So anyway, I want Pig's Breath to announce I get a grand piano and crab. That's all I want to hear. Okay, Teresa. Grand piano and wait, grand piano and crab? That's all you want? Okay. All right, that's pretty good. He might do that. I don't know. It could happen. Okay, well, let's go ahead and listen to these idiots and then find out what's happening. Let's see. When does it start? Oh, it starts right away. Okay. All right, I'll shut up.
Well, to our fellow Americans, brave warriors, and steadfast allies, good morning. You know, as someone who led troops, led soldiers in the streets of Baghdad and Samarra, Iraq, and who trained counterinsurgents in Kabul, Afghanistan, and who still carries the weight of brothers lost to Iranian terrorist proxies, many backed by the same Iranian regime we're confronting now. This fight, Operation Epic Fury, it hits home. Our generation understands this fight. For 47 years, these barbaric savages in the Iranian regime have murdered our brothers in arms, my guys, your guys, our guys. Through their terrorist proxies and cowardly attacks, now they race toward a nuclear bomb to hold the world hostage. The Iranians have targeted and killed thousands of my American brothers. That race to a nuclear bomb, President Trump will never allow it. Not now, not ever, not on our watch. The mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents, because they know their military is being systematically degraded and annihilated. Iran's neighbors, and in some cases former allies in the Gulf, they've abandoned them. And their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. Iran stands alone, and they are badly losing. On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives, which are the same as the day I gave my first briefing here on Operation Epic Fury. They're straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthless precision. One, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base. Missiles and their ability to make them. 2, destroy their navy. And 3, permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever. It's a laser-focused, maximum authority mission delivered with overwhelming and unrelenting precision. No hesitation, no half measures. As President Trump declared yesterday, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. But we do so. We do so on our timeline and at our choosing. For example, today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes, intelligence more refined and better than ever. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldiers will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead. Instead, we're winning decisively with brutal efficiency, total air dominance, and an unbreakable will to accomplish the president's objectives on our timeline. We stay locked on the target because here at the Department of War, that's our job. Now, the chairman and I, having just returned from Dover last night, our troops and their families and the enormous sacrifice that they make is certainly heavy on my mind. So I'll close with scripture, drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them.
Gosh, you know, it's funny because we're so hell-bent on ending this clerical regime over in Iran, and yet, Crusaders, yeah. And yet, we have a clerical problem right here at home. That's right, kids. Yeah, so this is what Gal said, which I think really nailed it for me. She said someone told him that they have been insensitive to dead troops. Yep, that's probably the case. And he gets his remarks from ChatGPT or one of those, probably Grok, right? Probably Grok. He's high Viagra in human form. Yeah, no, it's absolutely gross what he is doing now. It's incredibly disgusting. And the fact that he pushes this weird fucking archangel, I don't know how to say that, archangel bullshit is just a big problem. And they've been doing this for a while. It's not new.
Amen.
Amen.
God bless our troops and this mission.
Oh,
Mr.
my
Chairman, over to you.
God.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone.
Fuck you,
and thank you for
Kane.
being here.
You're going
here
to
today
Nuremberg,
to continue
bitch.
the
I got you
updates
in
to the American
Nuremberg.
people and to those in the room on Operation Epic Fury. First, let me start with honoring our fallen. As the Secretary said, on Saturday and again last night at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, our nation's leaders honored our returning fallen as they arrived home for their final time. Last week, I shared a few of the names, and today I want to share the rest. Major Jeffrey O'Brien and Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzan were the final two fallen to return home and members of the U.S. Army Reserve's 103rd Sustainment Command out of Des Moines, Iowa. Last night, as the news has been reporting, we honored the return of Staff Sergeant Benjamin Pennington of the U.S. Army's 1st Space Brigade from Fort Carson, Colorado. When I met Ben's family last night, his mom, his dad, and his sister, they showed me a drawing that Ben had made when he was in kindergarten. It was clear all the way back then that Ben wanted to do one thing in his life, and he wanted to serve his country and be a soldier. And to the Penningtons, just know how Ben was absolutely a great one. And finally, Major Sorfleet Davies, who returned home this weekend after sadly passing away from a medical condition while on duty in Kuwait. We welcome him home as well and mourn with his family. To the families and the families of all of our fallen, we share in your profound grief. The Joint Force remains eternally grateful for your sacrifice and the gift of a great example that your service members have given all of us. I want you to know that their names will never be forgotten, and you and your family are part of our Joint Force family forever. Let me talk a little bit about the progress thus far, acknowledging that Admiral Cooper will likely continue to give updates from CENTCOM. As the Secretary said, we're in the 10th, moving into the 11th day of Operation Epic Fury. The Joint Force remains focused on 3 military objectives. Continue to destroy Iranian ballistic missiles and drone capability in order to prevent attacks on the U.S. and others throughout the region. And this means attacking launch sites, command and control nodes, stockpiles before they can threaten our personnel, our facilities, and our partners. Second, we continue to strike the Iranian Navy and their capabilities in order to do things like sustain movement through the Straits of Hormuz. And third, we continue to start working on and going deeper into Iran's military and industrial base in order to prevent the regime from being able to attack Americans, our interests, and our partners for years to come and project power outside their borders. This means servicing production facilities, research and development sites, and infrastructure. Let me turn to the map We're going to try digital today to prevent laser injury. Since our last update, CENTCOM continues to make progress across the southern flank. To date, they've struck more than 5,000 targets. U.S. Strategic Command bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound GPS penetrating weapons on deeply buried missile launchers across the southern flank. We also have struck several one-way drone factories to get at the heart of their autonomous capability. And of course, alongside our regional partners along the southern flank, continue to execute intercepts against one-way attack drones using fighters and attack helicopters. Our strikes mean we've made significant progress in reducing the number of missile and drone attacks out of Iran. Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward, 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 83% since the beginning of the operation. A testament to our air defenders and our air defense systems, and as I said, our partners in the region continue to do great work as well. Second, we're making substantial progress towards destroying the Navy. In the first 10 days of the conflict, we're more than 50 Iranian naval ships into the campaign using a combination of artillery, fighters, bombers, and sea-launched missiles. As Admiral Cooper noted last Thursday, we struck and sank an Iranian drone carrier ship, and U.S. CENTCOM continues today to hunt and strike mine-laying vessels and mine storage facilities. This work will continue.
And what about the Sri Lankan situation where we shot at a ship that was in Sri Lanka, off the coast of Sri Lanka for a training exercise? Like we send our soldiers to go to training exercises in other countries, in other waters. So it seems that the Iranian ship that was over in the Sri Lankan waters had nothing to do with this particular war, but we decided to go ahead and shoot it anyway. So, yeah, this is embarrassing and maddening and not right.
Third, against our objectives, we've begun to target Iran's military and industrial complex, again, focusing on centers of gravity to get upstream of the shooters out in the field in order to deny them the ability to continue to generate those one-way attack drones. Let me spend a minute talking about the joint force. Across the area of responsibility, this is gritty and tireless work, and I cannot begin to explain how incredibly proud I am of the extraordinary courage, tenacity, and grit and professionalism within the joint force. Last time I had a chance to talk about the Army's incredible logisticians who are out there sustaining the fight. Today I want to highlight a few groups of sailors. First, I want to thank the men and women of the Ford Carrier Strike Group and their families, and let all of them know how grateful I am for their leadership and service. The crews on board this strike group have already been endured months at sea, only to get their deployment extended. These exceptional Americans, rogered up, all supported by their families, continue to stand the watch, taking the fight to the enemy over and over again, night after night. Aboard ships like the USS Ford and the Abraham Lincoln are a special group of sailors I want to highlight today. These are the men and women, the sailors up on the roof running operations on the flight deck. With an average age of the early 20s, these are the unsung heroes of naval aviation. These young sailors, known for wearing yellow shirts, are in charge of the catapults, taxiing jets around on the flight deck, shooting jets off the front end, and recovering jets off the back end. They are literally involved with every single movement on the roof on an aircraft carrier. They are the last ones that a naval aviator sees before getting shot off the front end, and the first one that a naval aviator sees after safely trapping on the back end. And just for a minute, Imagine you're standing on that aircraft carrier flight deck. There's 30 knots of wind in your face. The deck is slippery, covered in grease. It's noisy. There are propellers spinning. There's jet blast everywhere. The helicopters are running. Your head is on a swivel, and you're trying to direct a multi-million-dollar fighter into a 1-foot square box so that those naval aviators can be shot off into the black of night to go do America's work. Those jets are fully loaded with missiles and bombs, and they are a world-class team combined with the naval aviation and the aviators in those jets. This beautiful symphony of American spirit is the definition of perfectly organized chaos. And these crews do it every single time the carrier is at work. Oh, by the way, in the middle of the night and oftentimes in the pouring rain. These are dedicated young people who take the road less traveled to serve their great nation, doing the deeds that we need them to do. America's enlisted force is the pride of every nation's military, certainly ours, and the envy of every other one as well. Each and every one of them out there across the joint force are extraordinary, and in particular today I want to highlight the yellow shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, our work continues. It'll continue to be difficult. I ask every American to keep our deployed force and their families in our thoughts. Combat deployments can be tough on the force and the families, and it's important that we continue to remember that. I remain deeply humbled by the 2.8 million members of the Joint Force, and I'll end where I started, and that's remembering our fallen and their families whose sacrifice will be felt forever. And with that, I'll take some questions with the Secretary.
Jesus, you fucking dick.
A beautiful symphony of American spirit. Well said, Mr. Chairman.
Fuck off.
And I will just note that
fuck off.
No other country in the world is capable of executing
shut up.
what the chairman just described.
Shut the fuck up.
Day after day, night after night, unrelenting.
Really? Yeah. We kill people the best.
Alexandra,
we're the
Ingersoll,
best
One
killing.
America News.
Oh my God.
You talked, Mr. Secretary, you talked at the conference in Florida on Thursday that there was a 90% missile capabilities degradation and 83% drone degradation, and I know the chairman just repeated those numbers. We've seen the most amount of fighting these past 5 days. Is there any update to those percentages? And also, are you able to give any quantification of degradation to the enemy's nuclear capabilities yet?
What those numbers represent is a persistent low ability to respond, which is what we're looking for, right? It's if the enemy can simply wait and then project power, that's problematic. And we've seen some spurts here or there, but ultimately the trend lines, if you look at the charts that we look at every day, have gone like this down to a flat. That doesn't mean they won't be able to
since
project.
The beginning.
Doesn't mean they, our air defenders still don't have to defend. They do, but that is strong evidence of degradation, along with the battle damage assessment that the Joint Staff does, which takes time. You've got to look at imagery and recognize whether something's been simply degraded or it's been destroyed,
AI?
or whether an underground facility has been collapsed or completely obliterated. So there's differences in how you evaluate that, but the numbers staying that low is a demonstration of the efficacy for sure. Yeah, Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary.
From
There's been
Gork.
reports that the new leader of Iran has been wounded. Do you know if this is true and what his condition is? And then another one, President Trump said he had a really good call with President Putin yesterday. Will Russia be aiding us in this conflict, and can you share anything?
Well, the president, as I've said before, maintains strong relationships with world leaders, which creates opportunities and options for us in very dynamic ways. So,
does it for the Ukrainians?
Call. I was not on it, but those that were said it was a strong call, reaffirming the opportunity for some peace in Russia, Ukraine, and also a recognition that as it pertains to this conflict, they should not be involved. The first question was
On the new leader of Iran, there's
Did they give out the crab yet? Is there crab? What is the crab?
To heed the words
I
of
must have
our
missed
president,
something. Hi, Stephanie.
Which is to not pursue nuclear weapons and come out and state as such. As far as his status, that's not something I can comment on.
That's confidential.
Yeah.
That's confidential. What's the crab? I missed the crab.
Times. A question for you first.
I know. Meowing Star, I'm out of the
loop.
loop.
About this being the beginnings of an air campaign that could last 3 to 8 weeks. Can you give us your assessment on where we are now?
3 to 8?
Mr. Chairman,
what?
In any conflict, the enemy or the adversary adapts to the tactics it faces. Yeah. Can you talk about the most challenging adaptation the Iranian military has made to the U.S. military? What challenges are you facing most right now? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. Where we are is in a very strong place, giving the President of the United States maximum options. And from the beginning, from this podium, we haven't stated how long it will take. Our will is endless. Ultimately, the President gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless.
That's right. I
It's
have
not
that fucking story
protracted.
pulled
We're
up.
not allowing mission creep. The President has set a very specific mission to accomplish, and our job is to unrelentingly
Does he have a blankie?
deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding. He's the one elected on behalf of the American people when we're achieving those particular objectives. And so it's not for me to posit whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end. That's his, and he'll continue to communicate that. What we serve him as is give him updates on a daily basis of exactly where we are, so he can make that determination on the throttle. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question on adaptation. As you're right, no plant survives first contact with the enemy or Murphy. They're adapting, as are we. Of course, we have very entrepreneurial warfighters out there. I'd rather not, for operational security reasons, tell them what's working. So I'm going to not answer that question based on that. But we are watching what they're doing, and we are adapting faster than they are.
Are they more formidable than you anticipated, General?
I mean, I think they're fighting, and I respect that, but I don't think they're more formidable than what we thought.
Secretary, thank you. Jordan Conrad's from the Gateway Pundit. Axios reported, citing U.S. and Israeli sources, that the U.S. was not happy with strikes on 30 fuel depots in Iran. While this is anonymous sourcing, it seems kind of congruent with what President Trump said yesterday, that there's certain spots they don't want to hit relating to energy infrastructure that would take a long time to rebuild. And, whether this reporting is true or not, what's your message to Americans, those who supported the president and those who aren't really in favor of this war and who worry that Israel might be taking advantage of the U.S.'s backing? And then for Mr. Chairman, for you,
Ooh, America first. Ooh, ouch.
What capabilities does Iran have to shoot down jets over their land? And would that trigger some kind of rescue operation that could risk a bigger ground operation?
What?
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours. But when Iran has felt is the power of the world's two most powerful air forces.
Excuse me?
In that particular case, those weren't our strikes or that objective, or that wasn't necessarily our objective. But the president has made it clear to those concerns that we're not getting pulled in any direction.
Oh, really?
We're leading.
You said we were.
Leading. He's determining where we want to go.
No, you're not.
What the outcome will be, what the end state is, with a very keen eye. And I understand those concerns because I've heard from a lot of people who I went through 20 years of those wars myself. Worried about getting dragged in, worried about
Was he in the Army for 20 years?
Or democracy expansion. That's never the perspective the president has pursued on this. Just because previous presidents and previous secretaries have decided to just pour more resources and more people in toward some unguided end state, doesn't mean that's the way the world needs to look today. In fact, the American people voted for a different approach. But what the president also stated from the beginning is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And it's one thing to say it. It's easy to say. Anybody can say that. I mean, Barack Obama said that. But to do something about it takes courage and resolve. But in that courage and in that resolve, you can also be very scoped in what you're trying to execute to ensure that the sacrifice of Americans, American treasure,
Do you want to know why nobody's ever done this, I guess, if you want to call this if you want to say it like that, is because they had advice, much like you did the week before you did this. They had advice that this was not going to work, that it wasn't going to result in regime change. So I'm sorry, sir, but the facts kind of betray your lie. That you had a report just a week before from your experts that said this was not winnable. And so you decided to do it anyway because your boss credibly raped a child at least once, maybe more. That's why we're here, sir. Because you want resources, you want to distract from all of the shit that you're doing. That's why we're here. And people are dying because your boss credibly raped children. That's a weird.
American lives, all of those properly meet the objective that you're trying to accomplish. And certainly, as someone I talked out front about what the Iranians have done to our generation, yes, we're clear-eyed about it. But my job is to keep it scoped, given the directive of the president to accomplish the mission.
Thank you for the question. Most of their higher-end surface-to-air missile systems are not factors at this point in time. We're able to move around fighters that are moving deeper with relative impunity. Always some risk out there. I don't want to say that there isn't, and we'll always maintain and retain capability of doing search and rescue type of things. But I don't want to get into the details. But thank you for the question.
Shelley.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. President Trump told our team on the ground early this morning that the thing that has surprised him the most during the course of this operation so far has been the Iranian regime attacking countries that are not attacking them. I'm curious if that surprised you as well. And General, curious if you were open to the possibility of escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, and if you could describe some of the challenges of doing so.
Big mistake by the Iranian regime to start targeting its neighbors right away, exposing who they are and what they're all about.
Oh,
Indiscriminate
stop.
targeting.
Oh, like Venezuela? Like Venezuela?
Beginning.
Like Venezuela or Cuba or Greenland? You mean like those countries? Oh, wait, you're talking about Iran. Okay.
I can't say that we anticipated necessarily that's exactly how they would react, but we knew it was a possibility. And I think it was a demonstration of the desperation of that regime then and that regime now, that they still think their pathway out is to try to alienate their Arab partners even more, who've instead decided to come to us and have been willing to go on the offense, have been giving us access, spacing, and overflight in a new partnership that will continue to remake the region the way that President Trump did with the Abraham Accords. So you're pushing those countries.
Yeah, see how that worked? Didn't that work well?
This effort, further alienating Iran, and I think it's worth underscoring. I see in the media banners that say, war expanding or war spread. It's actually the opposite. It's actually quite contained, and more allies are more of those countries.
Yeah, I don't think the people in Beirut think it's contained.
You can't live under a conventional umbrella with nuclear ambitions, with a radical regime like that. Again, properly scoping the objectives in the process. And then you want to talk about the Strait?
Sure. On the potential, if tasked to escort, we'll look at the range of options to set the military conditions to be able to do that, and like we always do with every potential mission, come to the Secretary.
Why is his fingers are very short?
What are the resources required? What is
look at how short his fingers are.
What are the risks, and how do we mitigate those risks? So we're looking at a range of options there, and
I won't do
figure
that.
out how to solve
I won't do that stuff.
Problems as they come to us.
But I would reiterate also to add to what the chairman said, the truth the president posted last night about that, saying if Iran does anything to stop the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States.
They've already done it.
20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. He goes on to say, death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. You've seen the truth and read it. But he takes very seriously the condition of that straits. We have capabilities that no other nation on earth has, and we're certainly working with our energy partners across the administration to control for that. That's part of that scoping of this. The world needs to understand this doesn't have, this isn't intended to be, nor is it something that will expand. We know exactly what we're attempting to achieve here, scoped properly, and the American people can count on that for sure.
Thank you so much, Secretary Hegseth. President Trump has long said that he wants to minimize the loss of life in war, which wherever it occurs in whatever country.
Cara Costronova.
Can you detail the specific measures the Pentagon is taking to minimize civilian casualties and strikes inside Iran? And secondarily, is the Pentagon prioritizing the replenishment of precision-guided munitions, long-range strike weapons, or air defense interceptors? And can you share any details on which systems are being prioritized?
Yeah, seeing
Team
it from
America.
the inside every single day, including this, no nation takes more precautions to ensure there's never targeting of civilians than the United States of America. From the boat strikes in the Caribbean, where every single strike is assessed to this campaign here, no nation in the history of warfare has ever attempted in every way possible to avoid civilian casualties. And frankly, that's a point that just isn't appreciated enough. Where things happen that need to be investigated, we will investigate to the question shouted in the back.
Yeah, it is.
That it's not.
It is, Jay.
Open source is not the place to
Gateway
determine
Pundit,
what did or did not happen.
OAN,
We take things very, very
Lindell
seriously
Network.
and investigate them thoroughly.
He's picking on them.
And which is why it does take time.
Isn't that
but
interesting?
ultimately, unlike Iran, who targets civilians indiscriminately, who we've seen in the intel moving rocket launchers into civilian neighborhoods, near schools, near hospitals, to try to prevent our ability to strike. That's how they operate. And then they set, the targeting of drones and missiles toward civilian targets, hospitals, hotels, airports. CENTCOM's been very good about putting that information out. That's how terrorist regimes fight. They target civilians. We do not. And I can tell you this administration and this Pentagon focuses on that very, very closely.
Does it have tomahawk missiles?
Go ahead.
You
Right here.
will hold someone accountable if it turns out that that was a
This
US
morning,
mission
the Iranian government is saying a lot. They continue to say they're prepared for a long war. If that's the case, what could you tell the American people as far as the steps the Department of War is taking to make sure our troops have the protection and the resources they need as the mission continues?
I think there's one thing I can sleep quietly at night knowing is that we're giving every resource humanly possible to our troops on the front lines to ensure they're protected.
Oh, so would you
In fact,
say
as
we're
I said
running
in the
out of
first
stuff?
press briefing,
No, I'm just kidding.
Even before we set the offense, we set the defense. We made sure we had the ability to defend, and then we moved as many Americans off the bases and into other places as possible. So as this progresses, the chairman.
Yeah, I want my
was
tax
asking the
dollars
chairman
back
about
for the
how
fruit stands.
The enemy adapts. Well, of course, we adapt too.
Or fruit
in
baskets.
real time,
Okay.
and to watch our warriors iterate on air defense and interdiction, on drones and missiles, and how we get after it. It's incredible how they refine the tactics, bring in new assets to find different ways of getting at emerging technologies. So that is one of the things we're laser focused on.
No one's going to ask him about Anthropic.
More effectively than any country in human history.
He seems cool.
We're also ensuring that in every way possible we're defending the best Americans we have who wear our uniform, no doubt. Let's do one more.
Thanks, Secretary Hegseth. The president has indicated that maybe the operation will wrap up sooner than he thought it was going to. What's the plan once the U.S. stops military action? Will the U.S. play a role in the aftermath, or will they leave Iran to sort it out?
Ultimately, the aftermath is going to be in America's interests, our interests. We won't live under a nuclear blackmail scenario of conventional missiles that can target our people, which is why the objectives have been scoped from the beginning. Missiles, missile production, a defense industrial base, Navy, all in service of ensuring they don't have nuclear power projection capabilities. That's what matters to President Trump. That's what matters to the American people. And ultimately, that's why we're so laser focused on ensuring those objectives and those objectives alone are met. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, the highly enriched uranium, who's responsible for securing it?
Yeah, God, she had great questions. Whoever that girl was, I like her. Those are great questions. Oops, sorry. Those are great questions. Well done. All right, let's get the gin bottle off because he's going to go back and drink it. Oh my gosh, maybe that's why Trump likes him, his finger size. Yeah, you know what? That might be it. That might be it. Yeah, I know. I got him the cheapest gin possible, Jay. Did you like that? Did you like how I did that? I made sure it was the cheapest gin possible. Oh my God. Okay, well, that was a lot. All right. So we're going to read about his spending money and all that kind of stuff. That one, I did pull up that story. After seeing this, maybe I should have spent an extra half hour getting my groceries. Yeah, you probably missed a bullet there by not coming in. Yeah, so It was really interesting yesterday. I don't know. It was when Trump got up there and talked yesterday about, oh, well, maybe it's going to end soon and maybe this and maybe that. And then the market moves. It is really unbelievable to me that more people don't call him out on his market manipulation and the fact that that is just a bunch of bullshit. And I'm really, it's almost like it's become that we're going to watch the movie Wag the Dog. I think we need to watch Wag the Dog this week. I'll check with GP to see if he can get access to that. I really need us to watch that movie because it really talks about this very thing. Now, granted, it's more of a kind of like a satire-y kind of whatever, but essentially gets at the same heart of the matter, which is this is not an honorable action. There's nothing honorable about this action. I just pulled up part of it. Let's see, where is it? Did I pull it up there? I might have pulled it up here. Oh shoot, I don't think. Okay, shoot. Where? I thought I had that. Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. Forgive me, because I just pulled up the New York Times. What happened to my New York Times article? Oh, actually, there was something else. I was trying to get the casualty count, and I thought I had I did have a thing pulled up. God damn it. Where is it? Okay, here we go. The Al Jazeera. All right. So let's just look at this for a minute. This is the Al Jazeera live tracker of injuries and casualties. Do not sell my personal information. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so this is from Al Jazeera. Reports, I saw some reports that the market also moved because Iran offered other nations access through the strait if they got rid of U.S. and Israel ambassadors. Oh, I didn't hear that. Haggard. Interesting. Very interesting. Just saw that movie again. Oh, did you really easily? I feel like I need to watch it. If nothing else, then I need to watch it. Okay, let me get our screen over here a little bit. Sorry, the new set is like, it's kind of hard. I haven't figured it all out yet. As if I'll ever figure it out. Okay, here we go. Let me move this just a little bit so you could. Oh, it's locked. Okay. Anyway. Let me go ahead and just read it to you. U.S.-Israel attacks on Iran, death toll and injuries live tracker. Preliminary figures are 1,255 dead in Iran, at least 13 in Israel, 8 U.S. soldiers, and 14 killed in Gulf states. I really want this to be like a little easier for you to see. Sorry about that. I just have a weird thing about that. Okay. There we go. Oops. Nope, that's not really it. Okay. Sorry, I know I'm terrible. Okay, there we go. All right. Explosions continue to be heard for a 10th day in Iran, Israel, and across several Middle Eastern states after U.S. and Israel began attacking Iran on Saturday. Tehran has responded by launching waves of missiles and drones at Israel and toward several military bases in the Middle East where U.S. forces operate. Iran had previously warned if it were attacked, it would respond by targeting U.S. military facilities across the region, which it considers legitimate targets. Wait a minute. Not appreciated because not true. Wait. Reports. Yeah, I haven't heard that. And we aren't taking care to minimize loss of life. I don't think the people that are installed at the top of this are, I certainly don't trust pig's breath to create an environment where people are able to, to do their jobs in exactly the way they want to. I don't know. It's just, this is why we should not get into war. It shouldn't even be a question for us in terms of, is this right? Who's right? we should not be doing this. We should not be doing this. Yeah, he sleeps well at night because he's a fucking psychopath. That's right. All right, which countries have been attacked? U.S. forces have struck more than 30,000 targets in Iran since Saturday. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, which oversees U.S. forces in the region, said on March 7th. I'm going to make this a little bit different here. There we go. Most of these attacks have been intercepted. I mean, the numbers say it. If you've got about 13 people, about 27 people across non-Iran, right? Not Iran. And then you have 1,200 at minimum, although I've seen other numbers that are a little bit larger, based on who's reporting them, of course. We kind of try to glean as much true information where you look for patterns, you look for confirmation, you look for media literacy, etc. All right, here we go. U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran and its retaliation. The United States and Israel launched major combat operations against Iran on Saturday morning, bombing multiple locations. Iran retaliated with attacks on U.S. bases. And so they have the map. Okay, how many people have been killed? Below are confirmed casualties. By across the 12 countries that have been subject to attacks as of Monday. All figures may change as more becomes available. Live tracker below are confirmed casualties in the 12 countries that have been subject. So attacks, the blue are attacks by Israel and U.S. The red is attacks by Iran. In Lebanon, 394 killed, 1,000 plus injured. There's been a bombing on Cyprus. In Israel, 13 killed. In Jordan, 14 injured. In Iraq, 6 killed. Dozens injured. Kuwait, 6 killed, dozens injured. Bahrain, 1 killed, 40 injured. Qatar, 16 injured. UAE, 4 killed, 112 injured. Oman, 1 killed. Saudi Arabia, 2 killed. And the U.S. military has 8 killed. And Iran has 1,255 killed and 12,000 injured in this live tracker. Ali Jafarian, Iran's deputy health minister, has spoken to Al Jazeera about the number of people killed and the injured in the past 9 days in Iran. More than 12,000 people have been wounded and 1,250. So this is coming from the Iranian government. The victims aged range from 8 months to 88 years. 200 women are among those killed. 168 children were killed in the Manab Elementary School. 55 healthcare workers were wounded and 11 killed, including 4 physicians, 2 nurses, and 3 emergency workers.
دست این کودک بنگرین بزرگواران خوب نگاه کنین یه بار دیگه رژیم صهیونیستی اثبات کرد ثابت کرد جهانیان ببینن جهانیان این جنایت رو ببینن جهانیان باید این جنایت رو ببینن خوب نگاه کنید مدعیان آزادی خوب به دست این کودک ما نگاه کنید که صبح اومده بود درس بخونه
Yeah, so the Qatari spokesman says unchecked escalation has sparked the regional war. In Israel, at least 13 killed and about 1,900 others wounded. So, yeah, so I won't go through, but I'll link this so that you can follow along with the live tracker. I also know the new guy, Mojtaba Khamenei, Iran's new supreme leader amid war. So this is from yesterday. So let's see. Let's read this. Oopsie. Sorry. Mojtaba Khamenei, the second son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed on the first day of the war that the United States and Israel launched on Iran, has been selected as Iran's new supreme leader, state media reports. The 56-year-old hardline cleric's mother, wife, and one of his sisters were also killed in the strike that killed his father. But the younger Khamenei was reportedly not present and so far has survived the intense bombing of Iran. I'm going to just say that again. The 56-year-old hardlines cleric, which great job, everybody. You took out the old Khamenei and you gave us a harder, younger Khamenei. Good job. Excellent job. But he lost his mom, his wife, and one of his sisters, and his father. So, yeah. Okay. Iran's Assembly of Experts, the 88-member clerical body that selects the country's supreme leader, has called upon Iranians to maintain unity and pledge support to Mojtaba Khamenei. In a statement circulated on state media on Sunday, the assembly said that Khamenei was chosen based on a decisive vote. It urged all Iranians, especially the elites and intellectuals of the seminaries and universities, to pledge allegiance to the leadership and maintain unity. Khamenei has never run for office or been subjected to a public vote, but has for decades been a highly influential figure in the inner circle of the previous supreme leader, cultivating deep ties to the parliamentary IRGC. Way to go, guys. Wow, you really did it. You really made the world safer. Oops. If this is the definition of safe, not having someone who's a big hardliner. Oh, good job. In recent years, Khamenei had increasingly been touted as a top potential replacement for his father, who was president for nearly 8 years and then held absolute power for 36 years before being killed in attacks on his compound in Tehran on Saturday, February 28th. The younger Khamenei's ascension is a clear sign that more hardline factions in Iran's establishment retain power and could indicate that the government has little desire to agree to a deal or negotiations in the short term. Yeah, great job, everybody. Mojtaba Khamenei has never discussed the issue of secession publicly, a sensitive topic, considering that his ascension to the position of supreme leader would effectively create a dynasty reminiscent of the Pahlavi monarchy, the Shah, before the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which the Pahlavi guy is working real hard to stir up shit over here. Oh boy, somebody's funding Pahlavi. I don't know who it is, but somebody is funding Pahlavi, and he is stirring up some shit over here. You want to talk about AstroTurf? I think that Pahlavi movement is 100% AstroTurfed. That's my thought. That's just a suspicion. I would need to confirm it. But it has all the earmarks to me of a kind of AstroTurfed movement. Anyway, I don't know anything, but, you know. Instead, Khamenei has largely kept a low profile, not giving public lectures, Friday sermons, or political addresses, to the point that many Iranians have not heard his voice, despite knowing for years that he was a star rising within the theocratic establishment. Accusations. For nearly 2 decades, local and foreign-based opponents have linked Khamenei's name to the violent suppression of Iranian protesters. The reformist camp within the the reformist camp within the Islamic Republic of Iran first accused him of tampering with elections and wielding the IRGC's Basij. I hope I didn't. I'm not going to say those things right, so I apologize. Force to crack down on peaceful protesters during the Green Movement of 2009, which took form after populist politician Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was reelected as president in a controversial vote, which was followed by a crackdown on reformist leaders and their supporters. Basij forces have since been at the heart of the establishment's crackdown against multiple waves of nationwide protests, most prominently 2 months ago when the United Nations and international human rights organizations say state forces killed thousands of people, mostly on the nights of January 8th and 9th. The late supreme leader and establishment have blamed terrorists and rioters, armed, trained, and funded by the U.S. and Israel, for the unprecedented killings as they have previously done during previous rounds of anti-establishment protests. Mojtaba Khamenei began developing close ties within the IRGC from his younger years when he served in the Habib Battalion of the force during multiple operations in the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s. Several of his comrades, including other clerics, went on to obtain leading posts in the security and intelligence apparatus of the then nascent Islamic Republic. Khamenei, who is under U.S. and Western sanctions, has also amassed an economic empire involving assets in multiple countries, according to reports in Western media outlets. His name is not believed to appear in any of the alleged transactions, but he has reportedly moved billions of dollars over the years through a network of insiders and associates linked with the Iranian establishment. Bloomberg tied Khamenei to Ali Ansari, who was in the spotlight late last year after his bank, Allenda, was forcibly dissolved by the state because it went bankrupt due to handing out loans to unnamed insiders and accruing huge debts. Oops. The dissolution of the bank helped push Iran's rampant inflation higher, making Iranians poorer as the losses had to be compensated partly through public funds. A bank bailout. Interesting. Neither Khamenei nor Ansari has publicly addressed their links and the allegations, which include the purchase of luxury property in European countries. Khamenei's religious credentials have also been an issue of contention since he is a Hojatollah, a mid-level cleric rather than the higher rank of Ayatollah. But his father was not an Ayatollah either when he became the country's leader in 1989, and the law was amended to accommodate him. A similar compromise could be possible for Mojtaba as well. For now, it remains unclear when or how Iran will proceed with announcing new leaders, as it once again imposes a nationwide internet blackout and restrictions on the flow of information amid an intense bombing campaign by the U.S. and Israel across the country. Wow. Great job, everybody. Really great job. Really great. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Here's Pete Pig's Breath. This was the piece I pulled, I think. I don't know. Oh, no. Oh, this is from Teresa. I tried to make myself a note. Isn't that cute? Wait, let me check in with chat. I just keep going. Like, we aren't taking care to minimize loss of life. Yes. I think assessing that this requires understanding of the military dynamics of who does what and commanded by who. So yes, these appointees are savage and irresponsible, but the majority of the professional military are not them. Yeah, 175. Yeah, in fact, most of us in the military hate him. So keep that in mind. Yeah, see, that's I do want us to keep that in mind. You know, and Oren said something in a Blue Sky thread yesterday, and it really struck home with me. You know, this is not like working a regular job. You know, when you're in the military, you can't just quit, right? You can't just do that. So do know that there are people, his revenge, exactly. I think there are, you know, of course, the people in the military are making a huge sacrifice, first of all. I mean, they're literally putting their lives on the line for their oath and for their country. And I have tremendous respect. I lay the blame solely on this regime and whatever appointees they have put within the military who then direct people to these sketchy, you know, these sketchy actions, which unfortunately at this point, some of them at least are legal and or if they are illegal are not yet being adjudicated, right? So I think it is important because I think it can get real easy for us in the anti-war to demonize the entire military when in fact that is not, that's not right. It's just not right. And we also have a fair amount of people within the military who came through what they have coined the poverty draft, which I saw firsthand running a high school where kids actually entered the military because they had what they perceived to be no other option to help their families, literally. So I will stand with the members of our military who have taken an oath to protect this country and follow the orders that they are given. And there is a process for illegal orders. And I am confident that there are things that also happen behind the scenes that we don't see, right? Can you imagine that we're getting any of the information about any level of productive resistance or whatever, So that's just we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We have to adjudicate war crimes. Absolutely. But if you notice, nobody has yet in a position of power said, we're going to, we're going to sue the administration for the boat raids or something. That needs to happen. That needs to happen. Right? So I guess that's my position. If you have a different position, crack on, McDuff. It's not, but I am not going to demonize the military people. And there's shitty people in every group. Believe me. Oh my God. But at the end of the day, I'm just not going to do that because I know who my dad was. Right? My dad was not a monster. And yet he fought, he killed in the name of a government. And he talked a lot about that and said, don't ever call me a hero because I'm not a hero. So, there's just more to it than just demonizing an entire... I won't do it. So, anyway, that's my speech. Yeah. At this point, I consider many members of the military who aren't, who I know aren't really supportive of this regime. They're hostages, right? They signed up and they are committed and they can't just walk away from it. So that's all. It's the war machine. Yep, exactly. There was always bad ones who signed up to do bad things, but the majority of them don't want to hurt women or children. Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't know. So, yeah. All right. Breaking news. This is a great picture of Pete Pig's breath, by the way. I just think this really says it all to me. I don't know. He's got the same pocket square. Hey, Neil, he's got the same pocket square that he did before. Isn't that funny? Oh, there's the crab. Okay, now I get it. Oh my God, you guys are so funny. Hey, Haggard, national service is one thing, but glorifying and pedestal placement the military is a central characteristic and core tenet of fascism. Yeah, well, I don't think anyone's doing that, so, there you go. Pete, this is from the New Republic. Thank you, Teresa, for sharing this. Pete Hegseth blew billions on fruit basket stands, chairs, and crab. The Defense Department went on a $93 billion spending spree in 2025. The Pentagon spent more money in September at the end of 2025 fiscal year than it had in any other year since 2008. But a good chunk of the budget wasn't used for anything that could be considered a pertinent military expense. Someone should slip him an Iranian flag pocket square. Neil, it's true, though. Let's see. The Defense Department burned through $93 billion. What? Hold on, kids. The Pentagon spent more money in September, the end of the 2025 fiscal year, than it had in any other year since 2008. But okay. The Defense Department burned through $93 billion in that month alone, signing checks left and right in order to dry up its congressionally allocated budget, according to a recent analysis by the government watchdog Open the Books. What? There is pressure to spend. If federal agencies don't use the entirety of their budgets by the end of the fiscal year, then they lose access to that cash forever, potentially putting themselves in a situation where they have to request a reduced budget the following year. But the Pentagon's long list of luxuries is hardly defensible. Some of the frivolous September purchases made under Secretary Pete Pigsbreath's stewardship include a $98,329 Steinway & Sons grand piano for the Air Force Chief of Staff's home, $5.3 million for Apple devices such as the new iPad, and an astronomical amount of shellfish, including $2 million for Alaskan king crab and $6.9 million worth of lobster tail. Lobster tail is apparently a favorite of Hegseth's Pentagon. The department spent more than $7.4 million on lobster tail in March, May, June, and October. $7.4 million on lobster tail between 4 months. That's like $2 million a month. $2 million a month. In other pricey food purchases, the government decided to drop $15.1 million for ribeye steak, again, just in September. What? $124,000 for ice cream machines and $139,000 on 272 orders of donuts? The fuck are they eating? Are they all made of gold? I mean, what the fuck is happening here? Wait, let me check in with you guys. Oh my God. Let's see. Yes, that's correct. These idiots are trying desperately to get the military members on their fascist theocratic team. They are finding it more difficult than they hoped. Yep, they sure are. Yeah, because if they don't spend it all, they get. Hi, Jay. I mean, all these maggots say don't desecrate the flag, but so many people use, I know, as clothing, right? Filled with crab. In other words, Biden's budget was much better and didn't waste a bunch of money. I mean, basically, why don't they give us some fucking lobster? I agree. Wait, you reminded me of something. I think the Pentagon has its one what? Has a whiskey label? Oh my God. Making our military fat again. One donut at a time. Or apparently a lot of donuts at a time, Stephanie. Oh my God. Is this the warrior ethos diet? Next budget, extra money for extra favors. Yep. Oh my God. Lobsters were historically, I know, considered the cockroaches of the sea in the 17th. Yeah, exactly. 17th and 18th century. Lobster were like totally not used. They were for like impoverished people to eat. Fruit baskets too, my hub said. Warrior ethos diet. I heard that from Lincoln Project. Oh, cool, Jane. First, Kristi Noem's love airlines, and now gourmet crab and lobster for the Pentagon. Wow, these folks really love their fancy living. That's a lot of tail. I see what you did there, Teresa. That's a good one. That's very good. I'm glad you said that. Okay, weeks later, millions of Americans would lose their SNAP benefits amid the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. More still stand to lose eligibility to the food assistance program thanks to a Republican crusade that added stricter work requirements to the program. Which we need to check on that. I need to check on some stats for the SNAP and other things. That reminds me. Piling on paperwork and documentation mandates. One of the largest bulk expenditures was just for furniture, for which the Pentagon decided to shell out $225 million. That included $12,000 for fruit basket stands. I don't even know what that is. What the fuck is a fruit basket stand? I don't get that. Yeah, make lobster food for peasants again. Yeah. I don't understand that. Okay. What is a fruit basket stand? I need to look that up. I'm sorry. Hold on just a minute. I don't even know what a fruit basket stand is. Like, why do you need a stand? And why is it specifically for fruit baskets? Fruit basket stand. Wait, it's one of these? Is it? Is it like one of these? Like, is it one of these things? Like a fruit basket stand? Like a stand that has fruit in it? How do you even spend $12,000 on those? Like this? Like that's a fruit basket stand? I think I know what they were doing. Okay, so they probably had like a lot of fruit around the office. And so, well, I don't know. I thought it was like, you know, those edible arrangements, fruit baskets. Okay, I thought it was that. I thought we were talking about like edible arrangements, you know, like, and you'd have a stand. You know, almost like you have like those champagne stands where you put it's like an ice bucket on a stand. That's what I thought. But then I just Googled it and it said that it's these things that stand on the ground. I don't understand that. Okay, well, that's interesting. I don't get it, but okay. That's sure. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Yikes. And checks totaling more than $60,000 for Herman Miller recliners. Oh, well, Herman Miller, that's a great brand of chair. All in all, the agency spent more on furniture in 2025 than it had in over a decade. In the last 5 days of September alone, the department blew through $50 billion on just grants and contracts. For context, only 9 other countries spend that much on the entirety of their defense budget per year. It's also more than the total military budgets of Canada and Mexico combined. We're so fucked. The federal government had a $1.8 trillion deficit in 2025. Ultimately, the military's massive Wait, what? The federal government had a $1.8 trillion deficit in 2025. Ultimately, the military's massive expenditures offered up more evidence that the Trump administration has not put any meaningful effort into cracking down on needless government spending, a pledge that Trump has wielded on the campaign trail since 2015. Under Secretary Pig's breath, the Pentagon has consistently said its mission is to refocus on warfighting and lethality. Open the books, CEO John Hart said. Last year, we highlighted the problem of wasteful use it or lose it year-end spending. We noted that this reform is fully within the Secretary's control and is a historic opportunity to make good on that promise. Are you kidding me? Like, you would think that he would do that? There's no way. There's no way. Let's get rid of our fruit baskets. I don't know. You have to, one's $60. So if you're spending $12,000, what is that? 2,000 baskets? 2,000 of these? Weird. Very weird. Very strange. Very strange. Let's see. What did it? Oh, yeah. I think was another Teresa find, or it might have been a Tina find. I can't remember. Let me see if I've made a note. Sometimes I'm starting to make... Tina. This is a Tina one. Okay. This is a Tina story. I thought about that too, gal. Wait. Definitely failed on both. His wife is playing Melania. Oh. I can't tell if you made that up. One of the Republican main concerns about him was how he ran the nonprofits. That's right. Oh my God. This reporting could be a problem for him. We should go back to that. Oh, yeah, because he actually got in trouble for a nonprofit that he was in charge of. Oh, this is the problem. These things happen. They're obviously an abuse of power. And then it takes, if ever, a couple of years for everything to catch up, right? That's insane to me. Okay, well, let's talk about the Mar-a-Lago Accord yet again happening. God, we're just so good here at the lounge. Let me tell you, we're just amazing. I just can't believe us. I can't believe how great we are. Share the broadcast. Let people know just how great this really silly broadcast is. Let me try and make this a little bigger. Little bigger. Little bigger. Little tiny bigger. Little tiny bigger. There we go. Okay, here we go. This is from Inside Telecom. All these great sources. Let me take a break and have some coffee and wipe my nose. Because my nose is running. It must be the lights that make my nose run. I don't know what it is. It might be all the coke. No, I don't do cocaine. I don't do that anymore. Fruits on a pedestal. That is perfect for his wife. Yes, exactly. This is an article that we should try and exploit. I agree, gal. I agree. Yeah, hit that like. Yeah, smash it. Smash it. Okay, this is from... this is from June of 2025. Oh my God. I love our friends. Can I just tell you how much I love our friends? I can't tell you. This entire life is just... I'm so lucky to have the friends that I have. Hi, Grace Lisa. How are you, love? It's good to see you. We're talking about fruit baskets. Well, now we're going to talk about rare mineral discoveries because Tina is amazing. And Tina found this article, posted it last night. It's from June 2025. What a fucking article this is. Could Iran's extremely rare mineral discovery be another incentive for U.S.-Israel war? I'm going to say it again. This was written in June 2025. Please, mister, please. Iran's decade-long hunt for one of the most rare minerals in the world finally paid off only 2 months before Israel's attack on Tehran, which just so happens to be a key mineral for defense and renewable energy as the U.S. scramble for alternatives in a $2.46 trillion defense market. Maybe we should all hit the dislike for a week. I heard that amplifies it more like a 1 week. You know what? You can totally do that. It doesn't bother me in the least. I always get a fair amount of down votes for the shows, and it doesn't bother me. So I think you're right. I think engagement is what matters. It doesn't matter what kind of engagement. Interestingly enough. In March 2025, Iran announced the discovery of 7,000 tons of extremely rare mineral antimony at a time when China, Iran's BRICS ally, is disrupting the global supply chain amid Beijing's minerals war with the U.S. Solar grids and soldier gear depend on it. The Western world, including the U.S., EU countries, and Israel, seek it. China's monopolizing it, and Iran's discovering a new lifeline for the future of its technological and military capabilities. Tina needs a fucking... Yeah, I should, Teresa. I would do that. The whole, like, Baker Brothers or whatever that movie was. This is big, y'all, okay? I mean, this to me is, like, not something anybody's talking about. So, anyway, Tina, you're the queen. You're the queen. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you keep track of all this shit. I just don't. I'm so impressed. The future of technological, military, and supply chain is all about this one. All about this one extremely rare mineral. The future is all about antimony, and it seems that two of the U.S. biggest adversaries have an abundance of it. The largest deposit of Iran minerals was found in the Sistan and Baluchistan provinces, which alone account for 10% of the world's known reserves. The discovery follows a 10-year exploration drive led by the Iranian Mines and Mining Industries Development and Renovation, and is aligned with the country's drive to move away from oil exports. Semi-metal antimony, or stibium, is an important essential in electronics, flame retardants, and medicine. The Iran antimony discovery will strengthen the country's position in strategic industries, experts told Iran Press. The growing deficit of Iran mineral reserves and expanding applications, particularly in solar power and defense, render Iran's entrance into the market timely as well as geopolitically sound. Antimony has become the backbone of most of the rare minerals in the world, backbone of the most rare minerals in the world, renewable power, and military innovation. Solar cells contain antimony that soaring perovskite cells are more efficient through enhanced light absorption and heat stability. Liquid metal batteries, which store excess solar energy and stabilize the grid, have antimony as one of their main components. On the defensive end, minerals are crucial in the Iran mineral exploration. The U.S. Department of Defense uses antimony in over 200 ammunition applications, including stab detonators, percussion primers, and armor-piercing rounds. Its compounds are essential for flame-resistant uniforms and night vision devices. Analysts noted that the Iran antimony uses military role in making this energy transition feasible cannot be overstated, adding that U.S. solar capacity is projected to reach 700 gigawatts by 2050, underlining the mineral's growing importance. China dominates 50% of the global antimony mining and 80% of its processing. Recent export restrictions put in place for security purposes, however, have driven prices to soaring heights, with antimony currently at $55,000 a ton, up 350% from 2024, more than Iran natural resources worth. And I'm not sure I'm understanding all this language. China banned all exports of antimony to America in December, interdicting supply to a strategic clean energy and national security material. China, quote, China, they're basically weaponizing our mineral insecurity by turning off the tap on critical minerals. They control the market. They do 80%. I don't know what it takes to process it. That's a good question. It's not just antimony, said CEO of Military Metals Corp, Scott Eldridge. Oh, there's a movie about it. Scott continued to state that governments are realizing how dependent we are on China, and when they turn off the tap, we see how vulnerable we are to disruption. In meeting with officials, you can see it on the sweat of the brow and the money that's being put on the table. In response, the U.S. is funding domestic mining efforts, which led to Perpetua Resources in Idaho receiving $1.8 billion loan from the U.S. Export-Import Bank, the Exim Bank. Remember, we talked about the Exim Bank, and which is holding the money from the oil sales that we stole from, Venezuela. I think they've released that particular money, but anyway, that's the Exim Bank is important. And grants from the Department of Defense. The company plans to meet 35% of American demand within the first 6 years from 2028, maybe even earlier due to strategic imperative. Regardless of global defense spending on some of the most rare minerals in the world, specifically the discovery of Iran mineral resources, global military expenses hit $2.46 trillion in 2024, making a sure supply of antimony necessary. The mineral has been deemed critical by the U.S., EU, Japan, Australia, and many more. 90% of global supply comes from China, Russia, and Tajikistan. Oops. Russia. Well, then how are we going to mine it in Idaho? Oh, just domestic mining efforts. Okay. All right. So not necessarily antimony. We don't have any antimony, I guess. Regardless of the, Russia's Paleus mine supplied 20% of map of the rare earth minerals in the world in 2023, but Western access has been limited by sanctions. Meanwhile, Myanmar, the fourth largest producer, there you go, faces civil unrest that has disrupted exports. Tajikistan's Anzob mine, backed by U.S. investment, there you go, and Australia's upcoming Hillgrove project offer signs of diversification. Oh, I just love our friend. I feel like this is the moment when we learn things. Well, I don't know about you, but I just learned something very important in this whole war, that we know it's not just about oil. I mean, there's a million different reasons that this war benefits this regime. Okay, there's a million different reasons, both from a distraction, from an extraction, from a destruction, I mean, there's a lot. And I still am of the mind that there is a role that was played by both Israel and Saudi Arabia in forcing the hand of the United States to engage in this conflict, or to start this war. I mean, to start this war. That's what we did. We started a war. We literally started a war. Like, I don't know what else to say. We have huge deposits of antimony. In Alaska. Oh, and Idaho and Montana. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Yeah, talk about how it supports Russia. Yeah, exactly. I saw that, Sharon. Her name mysteriously appeared. Think of what that money could have offered Ukraine. Yep. I know, Dan. The gal squad's always on it. Tina, man. Fuck. You could have offered to sit on the grand piano and sing for them. I will always sit on a grand piano and sing for anybody, well, almost anybody that wants me to. Of course, maybe it just depends on who you are. It will probably drive what I sing. Let's put it that way. Okay. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This one is from Oren. And this is actually from March 9th. From the Conflict and Environment Observatory. And so I wanted to read this because it sounded interesting. The environmental effects of war. Belligerents argue that attacks on oil facilities are militarily legitimate, but in Tehran, the civilian impact has been huge. That's one of the refineries on fire. I get why we don't process antimony. Environmental control processes generate hazardous sulfur dioxide gas and toxic dust, necessitating robust environmental controls. Well, Stephanie, we cannot be counted on to protect the environment, so I don't think that's a good idea for us. I know the mining operations, there's one that's going to start or has already started happening out in the California desert. Like, it's bad. Like, if this regime is not stopped with their environmental fucking, then we're in big trouble. We're in big trouble. Let's see. Israeli attacks. Okay. Israeli attacks on 4 oil facilities in Tehran have exposed millions of Iranians to harm. In this post, we explore the attacks and unpack the health and environmental risks faced by the civilian population. Overnight on the 7th to 8th of March, Israeli-U.S. war against Iran saw significant escalation as Israel targeted Iran's oil infrastructure. Israel reportedly attacked more than 30 oil facilities, which it claimed were being used for military purposes. The U.S. subsequently distanced itself from the strikes, questioning both their scale and strategic rationale. Tehran was heavily affected, resulting in a major environmental incident. Footage showed thick plumes of black toxic smoke and large fires burning at several facilities. This toxic mix of pollutants subsequently rained out over the city and entered drainage systems, raising concerns about possible surface and groundwater contamination. With a population of more than 9 million, the incident raises serious acute and long-term health concerns for Tehran's residents. 4 sites were targeted in and around Tehran, including the Agdashie oil depot in Tehran's northeast, the Sharan oil facility in the north of the city, and the Karaj oil depot in the city of Karaj to the west of Tehran. The Tehran oil refinery was also targeted. The refinery has the capacity to process approximately 225,000 barrels of oil per day and is among the larger refining facilities in Iran. It produces a range of products with its main focus on LPG and gasoline, but it also specializes in sulfur recovery and vacuum bottoms, a heavy material used in tarmac. This is Tehran, the purple, and you can see these are the different sites that were hit. Oh, this is population density. Okay. Due to the ongoing war, it is unlikely that the fires will be extinguished quickly. 72 hours later, only the Karaj oil depot fire appears to be extinguished. The Tehran attacks were just some of the sites targeted nationwide over the weekend, which marked the most significant attack on Iran's civilian, industrial, and energy infrastructure since the beginning of the conflict. Iranians on social media describe the ensuing oil fires as hellscapes, a black monster, and apocalyptic, a mark of their psychological impact. But what of their acute physical health impact? While the health impacts of long-term exposure to air pollution are relatively well established, the literature on acute exposure for similar events is limited, even less so on the compound effects of such exposures and those from other conflict pollutants such as pulverized building materials dispersed by blasts. Nonetheless, health impacts will be informed by the smoke composition, concentration, exposure pathways, and comorbidities, which we explore below. Smoke from oil refinery fires is a complex mixture of gases and particles produced by the incomplete combustion of hydrocarbons and industrial materials. Typical pollutants include carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds, alongside particles composed of soot, organic material, and trace materials. It's often difficult to attribute symptoms in a specific event to any one component of the smoke mixture with confidence, but we know one particle of particular concern is black carbon, a near pure carbonaceous component of soot produced during incomplete combustion. Acute exposure can lead to respiratory disorders, particularly for high-risk groups like those with asthma and the elderly. The very small black carbon particles can penetrate deep into the lungs and can also carry other toxic pollutants on their surfaces, including polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Trace metals that occur naturally in crude oils are also of concern, such as nickel and vanadium, which cause respiratory irritation and inflammatory effects. Reports out of Tehran describe, quote, toxic acid rain. This phenomenon is caused by the combustion of sulfur-rich sour crude oil when sulfur dioxide gas is emitted into the atmosphere, turning into sulfuric acid in raindrops. Oh my gosh. Depending on concentration, sulfuric acid exposure can irritate the eyes and respiratory tract, but in practice it is often difficult to separate those effects from the wider impacts of soot, acidic gases, and other potential combustion products like dioxins and furans, which act together rather than in isolation. People in Tehran will have exposure to different pollutant concentrations based on their proximity to the fires, their local built environment, their building construction, how long they spent outside, and the weather. In the early stages of the oil fires, large energetic plumes thrust the majority of the pollution up high and away from people near the ground. These towering plumes punctured the planetary boundary layer, with smoke exported away. However, as fires lost energy, the plumes lowered and all the smoke was within the boundary layer. This is particularly problematic in Tehran, owing to the local geography. Tehran lies on the southern foothills of the Alborz Mountains in a semi-enclosed basin where surrounding peaks rise 2 to 4 kilometers, strongly restricting air circulation over the city. In winter and early spring, the daytime boundary layer typically reaches only around 1 to 1.5 kilometers, far below the surrounding mountain crest heights, forming a temperature inversion that acts as a cap to trap pollutants. What's more, after sunset, the boundary layer collapses to a few hundred meters, which concentrates pollutants near the ground. This effect produces the highest pollution levels overnight and in the early morning, until the boundary later starts to rise as the sun warms the ground. At the street scale, Tehran's defense urban fabric creates numerous urban canyons where rows of mid and high-rise buildings can restrict airflow, creating concentration hotspots. Modeling studies show that these can generate recirculating vortices that trap pollutants at pedestrian level, further reducing ventilation even when air above the rooftops is moving. Oh, sorry, Carrie. Sounds very much like the acid rain issue we had to deal with in Canada. That's right, Neil. I remember that. We were sending Canada all our acid rain. Ay, ay, ay. I know. Sounds like a centerpiece for a banquet. Yeah. The fruit basket. I wish they would just eat fruit and then stop doing all this other stuff. Given its slack winds, Tehran needs significant rain to clean the air to remove the particles and gases most hazardous to human health. No direct observations are available due to the blackout, while weather forecast models indicate the rainfall so far has been limited. Satellite observations do suggest some rainfall, the so-called acid rain. However, the fires still burn, and so the toxic smoke has continued to accumulate within the boundary layer. Staying inside doesn't fully eliminate exposure. One study in Tehran showed that outdoor particulate pollution readily infiltrated residential buildings, which often rely on natural ventilation and have relatively leaky building envelopes, meaning indoor particle concentrations frequently track outdoor levels during severe pollution episodes. This indoor pollution will persist for hours or days, with fine particles deposited on furnishings, potentially prolonging exposure, especially if cleaning is not possible due to the war and water availability, which the water crisis apparently is becoming of note. Elements of the smoke pollution will have been deposited onto Tehran's urban fabric, its roads, roofs, soils, and croplands, where they can accumulate. This can act as a source of secondary exposure, for example, when winds resuspended the pollution back into the air. This may be a particular issue in the dry summer months when Tehran experiences dust storms. Acute air pollution episodes disproportionately affect people with existing health conditions. Individuals with asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes are consistently identified as being at greater risk during short-term spikes in particulate pollution. Studies of wildfire smoke, a useful analog, show same-day increases in respiratory emergency visits, hospital admissions, and mortality, particularly among older adults and those with underlying respiratory or cardiovascular disease. In Tehran, these risks may be compounded by the city's high baseline pollution. God, I can't read. Where average PM levels exceed World Health Organization guidelines by up to 4.5 times. Chronic exposure can leave residents with airway or cardiovascular stress, increasing the likelihood that acute smoke exposure triggers exacerbations of asthma, COPD, and cardiac events. There are reports that spillages from the Sharon oil site, storage site, entered the storm drains in Tehran and explosively ignited. Tehran has a large and complex network of storm drains to carry runoff from rainfall and snowmelt off the surrounding mountains. It's difficult to forecast exactly where spilled oil products or the deposited contaminants that were later washed into the storm drains may be discharged. However, it would be expected to follow Tehran's north to south slope and may enter natural water bodies or agricultural soils where, in turn, shallow groundwater could become contaminated. I remember when the oil fields, when the oil fields were bombed, and it was just burning and burning and burning and burning, and they couldn't even get close enough to put them out. I just thought, oh my God, it's just like, that's Armageddon, or it felt like Armageddon. Let's see here. As well as exposing the people of Tehran to harm, the smoke has also been transported and deposited more widely. This may affect urban areas, crops, and ecology far from the city, and of course tens of other sites have also been targeted. We can track this through media reports, such as a citizen about 70 miles north of Tehran reporting black soot on his recently washed car, but also by simulating the pollution transport with models. Using the his-split atmospheric model, we can track where smoke released above the boundary layer may end up, based on the forecast, winds, and atmospheric motions. The trajectories indicate the air mass will travel in a northeasterly direction. One high-altitude area at risk of deposited soot may be the Golden Mountains of Altai in Siberia, home to several glaciers. His-split is a simple representation of the atmosphere. More complex models, such as those with chemistry, street canyon effects, or exposure inhalation dose, can and should be used to better understand the environmental harms and public health risks. This is the transport of the smoke and soot. Trajectory ensemble released at, I don't know what that is. 6 UTC on March 8th at an altitude of 1,000 meters and computed for 96 hours using the model, model vertical velocity. And so this is Iran. Oops, yeah, you can see. This is Iran right here. You can see. Can you see my, oh, you can't see my cursor. Iran's in the darker gray, and you can see the green lines are the air currents and how debris and from these oil fires is going to impact other areas of the continent. Fires at oil storage or refinery infrastructure release carbon primarily as carbon dioxide, though this would have been emitted eventually anyway when oil products were burned. However, uncontrolled combustion, especially when smoldering, may lead to relatively more emissions of methane, whilst ground-level ozone and another greenhouse gas may be produced downwind. Furthermore, oil burnt in this way produces relatively more emissions of short-lived climate forcers. Black carbon absorbs and warms the atmosphere, whereas organic and sulfate aerosols scatter and cool. This may be particularly important when these particulates are injected into the upper atmosphere where they persist longer. Here, they can exert stronger short-term climate effects or be transported to glaciers where black carbon can accelerate warming, as happened with the Kuwait oil fires of 1991. That's what I was thinking of. Alternatively, these particulates may interact with clouds, changing their lifetime and structure, thus their instantaneous climate forcing. If the number of oil fires in the region increases, then cumulatively these effects may have an appreciable effect on climate, meaning that observation and tracking is important. Attacks on oil infrastructure are commonplace in conflicts and usually justified by belligerents on the basis that facilities contribute to the war effort through the provision of fuel as well as economically. Facilities are also a common target of non-state armed groups. In Iraq, Daesh targeted oil wells because of their psychological effect on the local community, effectively using the fires as a weapon of war. Major incidents affecting oil facilities have also proved a trigger for the development of international policies seeking to enhance the protection of the environment in relation to armed conflicts. Israel's decision to attack around 30 oil facilities over the weekend appears to have alarmed the U.S., with concerns expressed over the political impact of oil price rises. While these were not production sites, the U.S. was concerned about the optics. Oil fires grab the media attention. Iran's attack on a refinery in Bahrain on the 9th will have done little to quell fears that the sector will not become collateral damage as the war continues. Beyond the global markets, the nationwide attacks will have an impact on civilian lives and well-being, as well as on the environment, public health, and climate. Notably, and as discussed above, major fires can impact the environment over substantial geographic areas and cause long-lasting harm, be it soil and water pollution or greenhouse gas emissions. In the specific case of the Tehran facilities, it's highly unusual for this many sites to be attacked in such a densely populated area that is so geographically vulnerable to poor air quality, leading to so many people being exposed to a dangerous mixture of pollutants. These factors should have influenced Israel's legal and military calculus if the protection of civilians was being viewed as a priority. But we know from the actions of the Israeli government that their goal is not to preserve human life in countries that they deem either desirable or hostile. And in the case of Iran, I would imagine it's both. And they have I have no confidence that the IDF is planning their missions with limiting of civilian casualties. So, for whatever it's worth. There's also the CEOBS. Actually, also I got. I don't think I have it on here. No, but I'll link another thing where it's their general website and some research that they did. So thank you, Oren, for this link. I hadn't heard of CEOBS, but it will be something that we take a look at as we go. Doesn't it sound scary? Well, yeah, while sitting in their Herman Miller chair. Fruit and lobster. Pentagon label whiskey? Really? Oh my God. What happened? What happened? Who let him have the petty cash? I know. We didn't do anything meaningful. You're right. We didn't do anything meaningful. The oil and gas industry is really evil. Really fucking evil. Really fucking evil. Jesus. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I saw this yesterday. Blue Sky CEO Jay Graber is stepping down. Venture capitalist Tony Schneider. Whoa, that name sounds really familiar. As interim CEO, as Blue Sky's board of directors hunts for a permanent replacement. Yeah, as someone, I think, Meowing, was it you or was it someone else who said yesterday on Blue Sky, like, keep venture capital out of Blue Sky? I very much appreciate that. Fuck venture capitalists. Venture capitalists are part of how we got here, okay? Venture capitalists are part of how we got here. Hi, Mr. Spock. Good news besides 420. Man, not really any much good news, but we're trying. Okay, Jay Graber is stepping down as head of Blue Sky, the social media platform exclusively announced to Wired. Venture capitalist Tony Schneider will be the interim CEO until a permanent replacement is found. Quote, as Blue Sky matures, the company needs a seasoned operator focused on scaling and execution while I return to what I do best, building new things. Graber wrote in a statement about the personnel change. Graber joined Blue Sky in 2019 when it was a research project within Twitter focused on developing a decentralized framework for the social web. She became the company's first chief executive in 2021 when it spun out into an independent entity. She oversaw the platform's remarkable rise and growing pains it experienced as it transformed from a quirky Twitter offshoot to a full-fledged alternative to X. Schneider tells Wired that he intends to help Blue Sky become not just the best open social app, but the foundation for a whole new generation of user-owned networks. Really? Okay. Schneider, who will continue working as a partner at the venture capital firm True Ventures while at Blue Sky, was previously CEO of the WordPress parent company Automatic from 2006 to 2014. He also served as its CEO again in 2024, while top executive Matt Mullenweg went on sabbatical. During that time, Schneider met Graber and became an advisor to Blue Sky's leadership. In a blog post announcing his new role, Schneider says he plans to emphasize scaling, describing his job as to help set up Blue Sky's next phase of growth. Well, I mean, just kill Twitter and you'll get more Blue Sky users. I mean, that's just basically what it is. This isn't the end for Graber and Blue Sky. She will transition to become the company's chief innovation. So she's being fired. I mean, she's being demoted. She will transition to become the company's chief innovation officer, a role focused on Blue Sky's technology stack rather than its business. She's being demoted. The position was created for her. This is a demotion. Yeah. Graber, who began her career as a software engineer, has always sounded the most enthusiastic when discussing Blue Sky's technology rather than its revenue streams. I don't like business. Money's boring. Blue Sky's board of directors will appoint the next permanent CEO. The members include Jabber founder Jeremy Miller. Oh boy. Crypto-focused VC Kinjal Shah, TechDirt founder Mike Masnick, and Graber. Twitter founder Jack Dorsey was originally part of the board but quit in 2024. This means Graber will have input on her successor. The talent search is still in the early stages. It's a pivotal moment for Blue Sky. The company found success by positioning itself as a progressive replacement for Elon Musk's X. That helped fuel the platform's rise as X's hard-right ideological turn prompted some users to seek new social networks. In 2025, Blue Sky grew from 25 million users to over 40 million, according to its annual transparency report. Its team is optimistic it can continue expanding while staying true to its roots. Masnick said Schneider's tenure at Automatic proves you build a real business around open software. As far as social platforms go, though, it's still a niche offering, and one perpetually subject to pundit class grumblings about how it's too woke or not woke enough. Just last week in a conversation with Wired, Dorsey said he wasn't happy with the platform because of ideology. Meta's competing app, Threads, has roughly 400 million users, or approximately 10 times more active accounts than Blue Sky, even if it's not interested in chasing the type of hockey stick growth traditionally favored in Silicon Valley. The company does need to convince more people and institutions to use its platform if it wants to stake a claim in the role of digital commons. There you go. That's what's happening at Blue Sky. Blue Sky, Blue Sky. I want to read Heidi Kuda's piece. What else did I have? Oh, I did a little update on the Guinea-Bissau study. And then I wanted to read about Sudan. So that's what we're going to do. This, I believe, is about, anyway, I'll just read it. This is Heidi Kuda, our beautiful friend, who we love so much. And she writes her Substack under the name of Betty Dangerous. I don't want to be CEO. No. No. Well, I don't know. I would take a look at, I'm going to take a look at Tony Schneider. That name sounds so familiar to me. So I really want to know. Mrs. Beasley. Where is Mrs.? I know Mrs. Beasley is everywhere. Yeah. I'm kind of hoping I run across an old Mrs. Beasley doll, because it would be nice. I don't need it, but it would be interesting to have a Beasley doll, because I think that's going to stick. I think there's always going to be a Mrs. Beasley. There's always a Mrs. Beasley. Okay. All right. All right. A book report. What you see at the end of the world. A book report on the essential Anna Politkovskaya, the reporter who documented the rise of a KGB snoop, the Second Chechen War, and the age of the oligarchs before being murdered on Putin's birthday. On International Women's Day in 2023, I received a torrent of death threats. It was preceded by a tweet directed toward my podcast partner, Jim Stewartson, by Joe Flynn, the brother of Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, which ended in the hashtag Arrest Heidi. So this was Heidi, her tweet. On International Women's Day, I would like to expose the misogyny of far-right extremists in America, like the brother of General Flynn, who called for arrest of a woman reporter, me, and then sent death threats, including one with an address. They must really hate themselves. Let me see if I don't think I can get that. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. So this what I can't remember. So Jim had posted, "Thank you for identifying this tweet as something that triggers you, Joe." Joe Flynn's a real pussy. Which part of my factual tweet are you pretending to disagree with? Be specific. And he says, "Let me educate you, Jimbo." That's what he calls him. DIA chief is a staff job, not a combatant commander job. DIA provides intel as a service to combatant commanders. Stand down orders came from Obama and crew. Warnings were given 4 weeks prior. Russian troops massing on Crimean border. Oh, whoops, it's not letting me do that. And then these were messages, I guess, that I think this was messages on subscriber name. Oh, so these are bang, bang, bitch. Oh, interesting. You're going to die. Lock your doors. They're coming. Joe Flynn is linked to a cyber militia of stalkers. Yes, he is. And appeared to be coordinating with the most venal of our harassers. When the threats began to pour in directly to my inbox through a vulnerability in Substack security settings for a brief moment, I couldn't use my fingers. I called my other podcast partner, High Fidelity. It was 3 a.m. at his time, and thankfully he answered. He told me to turn off the ability to comment and like my posts, and when I did that, the threats began to slow. But not before I received comments like, "Bang, bang, bitch, you're gonna die, lock your doors," and a message with my address. Anyone who had commented on my previous post received notes in their inbox from accounts with depraved and hateful names accompanied with images of scat porn. It was a nightmare, and when it didn't end, I reached out to my friend Fred Gutenberg, who had been tormented over his daughter's murder in Parkland by an extremely sick cyberstalker until the FBI arrested the perpetrator. He told me I had to go to the FBI, and I did. I won't go into the details here, but I slept with my lights on for months, until one night I got a call from Hi-Fi telling me to pack a bag and go stay with my mom. He learned that a pair of my stalkers, one I vaguely knew from childhood, had moved offline and were live streaming in my neighborhood. I was in the middle of writing an important investigation, and I made a decision to ignore the threat. By then, South Pasadena police officers knew me. I had called them repeatedly over myriad physical and cyber threats, and they told me, unless someone shows up at your door with a gun, there's nothing we can do. So on that night, when the stalkers were physically present, I thought, unless they mean business, I'm not leaving. I'm going to finish my investigation, and I did. Back in 2016, when I pressed send on my first post that exposed Trump as a charlatan, I knew how serious a step it was. I knew there was no going back, and I didn't want to go back. I was a woman with a certain skill set, unshackled by a corporation, and I had a duty to warn. Yesterday, on International Women's Day, I took some time for myself to finish reading The Essential Anna Politkovskaya, an investigative reporter whose work was so important that Putin had her executed in Moscow on his birthday, October 7th, 2006. She lived under constant threat, and the most important thing we can do is make her words live on and learn from them. Her reporting was so critical, and she was assassinated to silence her. And what were her crimes? Truth and empathy. This is an amazing story. I think we might have even watched no, I don't know if we did. I think she was part of the Active Measures movie, but I thought there was a movie about Anna. I have to look and see if that is. So this is Heidi. I think the place to start my report on the essential Anna Politkovskaya is from her story, The Old Man from Irkutsk, where she describes how an old man living in the depths of Siberia was found frozen to the floor of his flat. He was just past 80, she wrote, an ordinary pensioner, one of those emergency services refused to turn out for because they are just too old. It was Putin's third year in office, 2002-2003, and the man had frozen to his floor after a fall and died of hypothermia. His name was Ivanov. There are hundreds of thousands of Ivanovs in Russia. The man, a war veteran, froze to the floor because his flat was unheated. The heating pipes wore out throughout Russia because they'd been in service since Soviet times. The centralized state-run monopoly that was supposed to do something about it did nothing. Communal services are so used to doing nothing that is what they continue to do. She writes, the old man who died was hacked with crowbars off the icy floor by the other people living in his communal flat and quietly buried in the frozen Siberian earth. The deterioration of the pipes under Politkovskaya's insightful pen becomes a metaphor for Russia under Putin, who ignored the man's death. Quote, he remained totally aloof during the funeral and the country swallowed his silence. The public could not be allowed to reflect on the imperfection of the world developing before their eyes. She ticks off the names of the leaders of the West who crowned Putin their equal, despite the fact that he based his power solely on the oligarchs, the billionaires who own Russia's oil and gas reserves. I begin the report there with the old man from Irkutsk, because throughout the collection of her work, Politkovskaya documents and cherishes, celebrates and pays tribute to the forgotten and the voiceless. In her quest to document the truth of the Putin era, she does so with unflinching empathy. When elderly people are abandoned and starving in the middle of a war, and no amount of effort will get anyone in power to evacuate them, her newspaper readers come to their rescue, feeding the weakest among them. By reading Politkovskaya's writing, we recommit ourselves to empathy, to lifting up the weakest among us, to telling them they matter and they're cherished. There aren't any decent wars. For much of the book, she is documenting the Second Chechen War, a war that was started under false pretenses after the FSB bombed their own people and blamed it on the Chechens. The book opens with the task of trying to sort out the unidentified dead of war, a low priority for the state, and then she explains how soldiers are fed by tainted tins. She learns that the Russian soldiers have chronic stomach infections from being undernourished and fed rotten meat. When she tracks down the supplier of the private company that got the food contract, he shows her disdain. She quickly concludes that the longer the war, the fatter their wallets. Putin has no interest in ending the war, which he doesn't call a war. This thing he doesn't call a war is simply too lucrative and lasts a decade. She is continually reporting from small abandoned towns in Chechnya, not a fascist gangster-run republic, but a situation created by Moscow. Wherever she is reporting there's no food or medicine, people are actually starving. She writes about boys between the ages of 5 and 7 who dig trenches on their own, hoping to escape the Grad missiles, and how children 2 and 3 no longer react to the sound of missiles because the hunger makes them apathetic and lethargic. She explains she's not writing these notes to stir your pity. They are written for the future. Quote, we will only remain united in future if we act together now. Otherwise, we shall become so many wild and hunted wolves, each retreating to hide in its lair. As she writes about starving and stranded elderly people, she notes the slovenly inefficiency of government and that the state does not exist in Russia. What earthly use to me is the Putin we see, prancing about on TV and telling us that he's going to wipe out the bandits after they're cornered in the shithouse. She writes, I want a Putin who will defend the weak. But that Putin never manifests. She expects he'll be another Pinochet. Abandon all logic, ye who travel here. On December 6, 1999, she describes the reality of the army, not the made-for-TV version. She sees exhausted men with unbalanced minds, cold filth, scabies, rotting feet, drunkenness, hashish, all wanting to come through alive. A soldier tells her that the FSB distributed videos among the soldiers in North Caucasus to get in the mood. These videos showed how to rape and kill, he tells her. People are now used to seeing mentally ill men clutching Kalashnikovs on the front line. She describes the trades, how soldiers swap ammunition with the enemy for vodka and hashish, bullets that will later fly in their very direction. They call the plundering they do cleansing of property, and it's medieval. The senseless murder of civilians in Chechnya are similar to Stalin's activities in the 40s, she writes. Politkovskaya writes that she believes it's deliberate that Putin is creating a nation of outcasts who lack all civil rights. In a timeline included to clarify events in the Second Chechen War on September 9, 2000, the Moscow Times reports 1.3 million dead souls voted for Putin in the presidential elections. Brutality is a serious infection that can become a pandemic, she says. Under Putin, the army is a closed system where people live the life of a slave. Officers can do anything to the soldiers. I sometimes wonder whether Putin really is human, not just an icy metallic effigy. She writes that Putin-style capitalism is increasingly reminiscent of the thinking of the USSR. She visits an old friend who has become very rich because she pays all the bribes. And when her friend runs for local office and wins, it's because that's one less bribe to pay. Her friend worships Putin. There's a desperately sad story about Alexei Dikey, the commander of the nuclear hunter-killer submarine, the elite of their fleet. He is weakened by hunger, he can't feed his family, and the nuclear flotilla is left abandoned. The captain of the main constituent of Russia's nuclear shield is undernourished, living a troglodyte existence, she notes. He tells her, submarines are not like spry old men. Accidents are inevitable. There's an even sadder story about a former champion milkmaid and equally champion cowherd who take on housing developers, angrily shaking their upraised sticks in the direction of a bulldozer as they attempt to save rare species of ancient trees. This, however, is the age of the oligarchs, where every branch of government understands only the language of rustling banknotes, and the elderly protesters who try to save ancient trees are beaten. She writes in this, Akaki Akakievich Putin II, she writes in this chapter how she's a 45-year-old Muscovite who observed the Soviet Union at its most disgraceful and doesn't want to go back there, and that's why she dislikes Putin so much. She describes him as a typical lieutenant colonel of the Soviet KGB, a look-alike of Akaki Akakievich, the downtrodden hero of Gogol's The Great Coat. She writes that he has the manner of the Soviet secret policeman who habitually snoops on his own colleagues, a KGB snoop. She blames the Russian people for their negligence, apathy, and weariness, and the West for encouraging him, particularly Silvio Berlusconi, who appears to have fallen in love with Putin. Meeting no resistance, Putin only became bolder. Society has shown limitless apathy. The KGB respects only the strong. The weak it devours. Why do I so dislike Putin? I dislike him for a matter-of-factness worse than felony, for his cynicism, for his racism, for his lies, for the gas he used in the Nordeste siege, for the massacre of innocents. She writes of PR man Vladislav Surkov, who spins webs of pure deceit, lies in place of reality, words instead of deeds. Breaking news, Surkov is alleged to have fled Russia. Putin, she writes in 2004, got his hands on enormous power, and he's using it to catastrophic effect. I dislike him because he does not like people. He despises us. We are nobody, while he is Tsar and God. We have had leaders with this outlook before, and it led to tragedy, bloodshed on a huge scale, civil wars. I want no more of that. That is why I dislike this typical Soviet Chekist as he struts down the red carpet in the Kremlin on his way to the throne of Russia. She writes of how the Russian Secret Service staged managed atrocities, instigating actual staged horror events which they could then blame on terrorists. After a newspaper colleague is severely beaten and no investigation is opened, she questions if lives should be sacrificed to journalism, and also questions why society seems so willing to throw truth to the winds. She painstakingly documents trials that take place outside of Russia so Russians can learn some truth about their barbaric regime. She asked Tony Blair why he seems so enchanted with Putin, and he says, "It's my job as prime minister to like Mr. Putin." Author's note, 20 years later, it seems it's still his job. In one of her final writings, she documents a trip she took to Sydney, Australia, where she witnessed a chapel on a naval base that was built on a high promontory jutting out over the Pacific Ocean. The chapel's far wall behind the altar is made of glass. Your prayer is to that great ocean of peace to protect and preserve you. Rest in peace, Anna Politkovskaya. We are the future that you wrote these words for. I hope people listen. Ah, beautifully done. God, Heidi, you're such a beautiful writer. I love Heidi's writing. Sounds like it's full-on Nazi takeover. The Nazis don't like midterms. Wait, did something happen? Trump appointed Erica Kirk to the board of the Air Force Academy. Oh, is she going to help? Is she going to help Mike Flynn as the head of the PTA at West Point do the ice cream socials? He's really, yeah. Dave Troy warned about. Here's the thing. Can I just say? Here's the thing. It is easier for a rich man to pass through the head of a pin than to enter the kingdom of God. Okay? I mean, if you want to just be real about it, if you want to be real, like, between the boards of directors and if shareholders are involved, between all of those factors, the bottom line is that no platform is protected from broligarchs or ideological whims or, like it's just not. I just think, yeah, exactly. I'm going to quote Jesus for you. But I just think to me, I don't expect any of these platforms to be like what I would want them to be, right? I'm just sorry. There's no platform that is going to be safe from some kind of, weirdness. And that's just the way it is. I don't know. I mean, until we fight disinformation, this is the bed we've made, right? We made this bed. Now we're lying in it. I mean, and I don't mean we, but I just mean collectively, we have not addressed anything in regards to disinformation, really. And here we are. I wanted to follow up on the Guinea-Bissau study because it was interesting. I was just trying to find any information about it. And I found this is the statement on this is from February 13th from the World Health Organization statement on the planned hepatitis B birth dose vaccine trial in Guinea-Bissau. Do you recall we were talking about this as a thing where they were going to take 14,000 infants in Guinea-Bissau and give half of them the birth dose of the Hep B vaccine and the other half wait 6 weeks for the first dose. And I did get some clarification, but I still look at it with a side eye because I don't think the WHO makes a point I don't think they make these points lightly. Let me put it that way. Yeah. So this again was from mid-February. The World Health Organization. Oh, whoops. I should make it bigger. I can't even see it. The World Health Organization underscores that the hepatitis B birth dose vaccine is an effective and essential public health intervention with a proven record. It prevents life-threatening liver disease by stopping mother-to-child transmission at birth. It has been used for over 3 decades with more than 115 countries including it in their national schedules. Protecting newborns with a timely birth dose does not only provides individual benefit, but is also central to national and global elimination efforts. In response to recent questions from the media, WHO would like to state the following. WHO is aware of the proposed randomized control trial on the Hep B birth dose vaccine in Guinea-Bissau, based on questions raised in publicly available information and consultation with relevant experts. WHO has significant concerns regarding the study's scientific justification, ethical safeguards, and overall alignment with established principles for research involving human participants. Why withholding the vaccine is unethical. The hepatitis B birth dose is known to have a proven safety record across decades and is effective in preventing 70 to 95% of cases of mother-to-child transmission. A study which provides the Hep B birth dose vaccine a proven life-saving intervention, but withholds it from some study participants, exposes newborns to serious and potentially irreversible harm, including chronic infection, cirrhosis, and liver cancer. There is no scientific necessity for a no-treatment arm. Placebo or no-treatment vaccine trials are only acceptable when no proven intervention exists or when such a design is indispensable to answer a critical question of efficacy or safety. Neither condition appears to be met based on publicly available descriptions of the study. Insufficient scientific justification. Publicly available descriptions indicate that the protocol does not question the established efficacy and impact of the birth dose. Instead, it posits hypothetical safety outcomes without sufficient credible evidence of a safety signal that would warrant exposing participants to risk. Biased and low utility design. As described publicly, the single-blind, no-treatment controlled design raises a significant likelihood of substantial risk of bias, limiting interpretability of the study results and their policy relevance. Exploiting scarcity is not ethical. Resource constraints cannot be used to justify withholding proven care in a research study involving people. Ethical obligations require minimizing risk and ensuring a prospect of benefit for participants. From what is publicly described, the protocol does not appear to ensure even a minimum level of harm reduction and benefit to the study participants. For example, screening pregnant women and vaccinating newborns exposed to Hep B. In its current form and based on publicly available information, the trial is inconsistent with established ethical and scientific principles. WHO is aware that Guinea-Bissau has suspended the study pending further technical reviews. WHO stands ready to support Guinea-Bissau as it considers its way forward and in accelerating the introduction of the birth dose and strengthening implementation through birth dose delivery within 24 hours, including strategies for home and facility births, antenatal screening for Hep B surface antigens, linkage to care and neonatal prophylaxis, cold chain, last mile logistics and midwife HCW training, and monitoring of timelines and coverage, pharmacovigilance, and data use for continuous improvement. The WHO remains committed to working with national authorities, researchers, and partners to ensure that all newborns in Guinea-Bissau and worldwide receive timely, evidence-based protection against Hep B, and that research conducted in this area meets the highest ethical and scientific standards. Let's see. The editor's note is that the Hep B causes hundreds of thousands of deaths globally each year. Transmission at birth is the most common route to lifelong infection. About 90% of newborns infected during childbirth become chronic carriers at a high risk of cirrhosis and liver cancer. In Guinea-Bissau, more than 12% of adults are estimated to be living with chronic hepatitis B, and infection in children under 5 is far above the global target. Guinea-Bissau formally decided in 2024 to add the Hep B birth dose to its national schedule, with introduction planned by 2028. This policy decision affirms the vaccine's value and further underscores the ethical imperative not to deny newborns timely protection. So that's important context, okay? Because now what I'm going to do is take you to the authors of the study. This is the authors of the study. And I'll save you reading this, but they claim that no vaccines are being withheld, that they give the control group the dose at 6 weeks, which, as we just read, was the policy in Guinea-Bissau, was that infants got a 6-week dose. They did not get a birth dose. But there is tremendous evidence that the birth dose can eliminate a strong degree of infection in infants where the transmission comes at time of birth. And it is, so basically, they're testing for something that has already been tested. They're testing for something that, fuck you. Yeah, it's just bullshit. So now this is interesting because, again, these are the fucking authors of the study. Thanks to funding from the Pershing Square Foundation, the Bluebell Foundation, which I'm going to look at. I know Pershing Square. I don't know the Bluebell Foundation, but I'm figuring Texas. And the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention researchers at Bandom Health Project are now able to initiate a randomized control trial of the Hep B vaccine at birth in Guinea-Bissau. There's a unique window of opportunity because the Guinean Ministry of Health has decided to implement a universal Hep B vaccine policy for newborns starting in 2027. Until then, the team will randomize newborns who to receive a WHO-approved Hep B vaccine at birth, the future policy, or no Hep B vaccine at birth, the current policy. All children will receive the currently recommended vaccines, irrespective of allocation. I'll link this. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't want to give that much platform to this. But I do want to say this is the common misunderstandings. It's almost as if they watch the show. Several misconceptions about the trial have circulated. Okay, no newborn will receive fewer vaccines because of the study. All participants will receive the standard OPV and BCG. All children are provided Hep B at 6, 10, and 14 weeks of age as part of the current Guinea-Bissau vaccination program. So half of the participants receive an additional Hep B vaccine dose at birth that they would not otherwise have received. Anyway, so then they go on to try and justify why they need to test this particular, because what they say now is they're just looking at health outcomes. Okay, the health outcomes for a Hep B vaccine have already been studied. They don't need another study. They don't. It's already there. And I'm going to tell you, I watched the vaccine panel of RFK, and I watched their conversation about Hep B. These people do not want to give the Hep B vaccine. Certainly, they don't even want to give it at 6 weeks. I think they were talking about giving it like 2 years. Okay? Like, they don't want to give this vaccine. Robert, whatever his name is, the guy who's the head of the vaccine panel, the anti-vax panel, that's what I call it. When they went through the childhood vaccination recommendations, this like last fall. No, they literally talked about the fact they don't want to give this vaccine. This is real. I mean, it's fucking RFK. Yeah. No, they do belong in a prison, under a prison. Thank you, Badge. Ruth Ben-Ghiat covers her in her book Strongman. Wait, who does she cover? I missed that. Okay, so yeah, the Hep B vaccine at birth has recently been the subject of public debate because you made it so. Fuck you, Franz Frederick Schatzbuchholzer. I'm gonna fucking write to you too, bitch. Give me your email. I'm going to send you an email. Researchers have submitted an op-ed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, right now, I'm not sure if this study has started because Guinea-Bissau CDC had put the brakes on in mid-February. But I don't know if they've been successful because these guys are still pursuing this study. And their claim that, but we're just going to test on these kids and, see if the birth dose does anything. Well, how are you going to determine? Okay, so Guinea-Bissau already has decided. Let me just get this straight. Guinea-Bissau has already decided that they will give the birth dose versus waiting until 6 weeks. They will give the birth dose to children starting in 2027. Okay? So they already decided that. So in my mind, why in the world do you need to use these children as a lab rat because you want to find out if you can prove your stupid theory that vaccines harm babies? Literally, that is what's happening here. You're testing something that has already been tested, and you have the ability to help all the babies, but because you are hell-bent on proving that this vaccine somehow is bad, you're going to delay or not support a country that has already made the decision to align with the World Health Organization, by the way, who does recommend the birth dose, right? So this is an outlier. The 6-week thing is an outlier. Why are we testing that? So that's what's happening in Guinea-Bissau. I just wanted to update you on what I had learned. We'll keep track of that study to see what happens, but it is just another eugenics push, racist eugenics push by this administration. And I'm sick to fucking death of it. I would like, let's see, it's 9 o'clock. Okay, good. Let me just check the news while we're kind of sitting around here, but I really want to read about Sudan because I want to learn about that conflict. I don't know all the things that are happening, so I'd like to learn more about what's happening in Sudan. Let's see, there's a White House briefing. Oh, that's later. Okay. Oh, I also have some clips. Maybe I should play a clip. Maybe I should play a clip for you and me to watch and say la 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 la. Oh yeah, I had this Bonnie Willis story too. Oh, we'll come back to that.
Australia has granted humanitarian visa.
Don't do it. Okay. Sorry. Picked up a couple of little clippy clips here. I don't even know what Mrs. T is. That's Mrs. T? Yeah, isn't that like Bloody Mary mix? Oh, Mrs. T pierogies. Oh, pierogies. Yeah. Yum. Yum. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Bloody Mary mix. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Australia has oh wait, whoops. Why am I reading that? I'm such an idiot. Hi everybody. I'm an idiot. Okay, I picked up this story from Bloomberg. You know, the radical leftists at Bloomberg. I picked up this story. Australia gives asylum to 5 Iranian female soccer players. So I just want to play this story. It's 8 minutes, so hang in there. Okay, here we go.
This is to 5 Iranian football players who sought asylum, citing fears for their safety after the team declined to sing the national anthem during a match last week, I should say. Iranian state television reportedly labelled the women traitors. The team's Asian Cup campaign ended on Sunday, leaving the players facing uncertainty about returning to their homeland. Joining us now is Craig Foster, who's a former captain of the Australian men's football team, who's now a high-profile campaigner for refugee rights and marginalised communities. And Craig, you've been speaking out on behalf of these women for some days now. Tell us about your experience in terms of how this all transpired, particularly over the last 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah, the last day, Haiti, has been, really very quickly evolving situation, which often happens once it becomes not just public, but, very visible around the world. That generally does two things. One, it can provide some form of or level of protection to the athletes, because that notoriety means that you've got more people who might be able to access them. You also, if they do leave Australia, either forcibly removed or decide to return back to Iran, we're hoping as well, which is why these interviews are important, that notoriety and the eyes of the global football community will be on them, which might hopefully afford them some level of protection. So in the last few days, we've been calling on the Asian Football Confederation and FIFA to step in. It was very clear that at least some, if not all, of the women were being placed in an environment of coercion, silencing, and a lack of safety and lack of security and very high risk. So the AFC had a responsibility. That's the Asian Football Confederation. They should have stepped in immediately several days ago just to satisfy themselves that that wasn't the case. We've seen this too often with women athletes across a whole range of sports, and particularly in football, and it's clear that we don't have the systems and protocols in place to ensure that any of these women could have made, an SOS claim, if you like, through a trusted and confidential and private source. So this is where we've landed. We've landed in an environment where the Australian government has had to intervene, has been encouraged to intervene because of the risk factors that are obvious. We also know, the systematic persecution of high-profile athletes who've spoken out against the Iranian government over a course of many years. A lot of human rights campaigns have been run. Human Rights Watch and Amnesty and others have identified those systematic patterns. So that's why we've been so concerned about the group. And thankfully, an intervention by the Australian government allowed 5 of them to not only understand their rights, but exercise them. The urgent and immediate situation today is to ensure that the rest of the group are not removed from Australia before having an opportunity to understand their rights and to make a personal decision about whether they would like to exercise them.
In terms of what transpired overnight, how useful, influential, impactful, or just in a matter of good timing was that conversation with President Trump?
Well, the Australian government was very aware of the situation prior to, was already working on the situation and was actually on the ground at least 48 hours ago. So I can't answer to that. I wasn't on the call. What I would say about these situations is we need to be a little bit careful in the over-politicisation of them. What's clear with these women is that they've already been in a deeply politicised environment by the Iranian government and the Iranian member federation. And of course, in the context of this conflict in which Iran is directly involved, so too is Australia and the US, these women can very easily be placed in a situation where the primary consideration is not their safety. It can be actually using them, as media tools, if you like. We've seen this, multiple times throughout football history and sporting history. The intersection of sport and politics, well, I shouldn't say intersection, they're basically one and the same. That's and we've seen that in the way this Iranian women's team have been silenced, effectively held hostage in their hotel in order that they couldn't speak to the media or even access external support. So from our perspective, as a former player, former chair of our Players Association here in Australia, the only consideration should be the welfare and safety of this entire group. That's what we're really focused on. I think there was no question Australia was going to offer the women asylum anyway, independent of any phone call. It's the women who've shown the courage here. It's the activists around the hotel who've advocated, courageously for their rights. It's those people, I think, who are at the centre of this story.
Craig, you've done so much activism, and within this space, has it surprised you that this sort of path to bipartisan...
Okay, I think we've heard enough. They're going to repeat the same things over and over again. But I appreciate that update. And there's a story on CNN this morning, because I was looking for an update. And it says more members of the Iranian women's soccer team seek asylum as most of squad leaves Australia. So it looks like some of that team has already left Australia. Is Pamela Joe in a closed session today? Is that today? Oh my gosh, is that today? I'm very interested. I thought that was going to be public. Am I missing it? I thought that was going to be public. Any guess on how many hours they're going to have Bondi behind closed doors then, are the baseline? So we can say plus or minus. Well, I mean, it's always, Hillary went through like 30 hours of Benghazi, right? Or 33 hours or something like that. Why do I have that number? Oh, you don't think it's today? Oh, okay. All right. I wonder about that. I thought it was going to be public, but I guess not. I thought it was 30 hours. I thought it was 30 hours, Jane. I don't know. Her burn book. Those are administration burn books. Those aren't hers, man. They give them to everybody who's testifying in front of Congress, 6 hours. Well, for the last one, yeah, I think it was like 8 hours for like fucking Epstein, who she never met. Whatever. So anyway, I will link this too, but it will talk about 5 players have been granted humanitarian visas. A source close to the squad has told CNN Sports that another 2 members of the team, a player and a member of staff, have also sought asylum. So it looks like it's up to 7, and then others are on their way back. And I hope they're okay. And it's scary. That scares me. But I don't know. That's just really scary. It's just really scary. All right, let's learn a little bit about Sudan and the civil war in Sudan. I pulled this up. It's the Global Conflict Tracker as part of, oh man, what the fuck is this website? I can't recall. CFR, Council for Foreign Relations or something like that. I don't know. So let me read this. Center for Preventive Action. Oh, I guess that is it. Is that it? I don't know. Anyway. Here we go. As the Civil War enters its 3rd year, the over-under is 3.99 because they can't count to 4. I believe you. Oh, I wouldn't believe my numbers, Jane. I just have that number stuck in my head. Yes, we just read about that. Yeah, 7 members have so far sought asylum, and I think the rest of the team is on their way back to Iran. So, as the Civil War enters its 3rd year, Sudan's 2 warring factions remain locked in a deadly power struggle. Death toll estimates vary widely, with the former U.S. envoy for Sudan suggesting as many as 400,000 have been killed since the conflict began on April 15, 2023. More than 11 million have been displaced, giving rise to the worst displacement crisis in the world. Over 4 million displaced Sudanese have fled to unstable areas in Chad, Ethiopia, and South Sudan, overwhelming refugee camps. The UN continues to plead for more support as more than 30 million need humanitarian assistance, and deteriorating food security risks are triggering the world's largest hunger crisis. Meanwhile, mediation efforts have failed to produce results as the leaders of the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces refuse to halt their violence, and regional and international actors have taken sides in the war. As conditions deteriorate, the World Food Programme's Carl Scow warned, "We are running out of time." Background. For the first half of the 20th century, Sudan was a joint protectorate of Egypt and the United Kingdom, known as the Anglo-Egyptian Condominium. Egypt and United Kingdom signed a treaty relinquishing sovereignty to the independent Republic of Sudan in 1956. The stark internal divide between the country's wealthier northern region, which was majority Arab and Muslim, and its less developed southern region, which was majority Christian or animist, sparked two civil wars, the second of which would see the country split into two states in 2011. The Second Sudanese Civil War from 1983 to 2005 killed an estimated 2 million people, with widespread documentation of famine and atrocities. In July 2011, Sudan's Southern Territory seceded and formed a new state, the Republic of South Sudan. The dictatorship of Omar al-Bashir defined Sudan's post-colonial period. Bashir seized power in a 1989 coup after serving in the Egyptian military during condominium rule, and later as an officer in the Sudanese Armed Forces. As president, he oversaw the Second Sudanese Civil War, the secession of South Sudan, and the conflict in Darfur. The Darfur War, which broke out in 2003, was later condemned by the International Criminal Court as a genocide targeting non-Arab populations, including the Fur, Zaghawa, and Masalit peoples in western Sudan. During his regime, Bashir enforced a strict interpretation of Sharia, employed private militias and morality police to enforce his decrees, and persecuted Christianity, Sunni apostasy, I don't know how to say that, apostasy, Sunni apostasy, Shiism, and other minority religious activities. Bashir's regime survived until 2019. By the final decade of his presidency, Bashir faced increasing popular protests calling for democracy, access to essential services, and a new system of governance. The revolution culminated in an April 2019 coup, which was carried out jointly by the SAF, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Rapid Security Forces, RSF, a militia led by Mohammed Hamdan Hamadchi Dagalo. Forgive my pronunciations, I really do apologize. There's a picture of a Sudanese Armed Forces soldier walking on the Shambat Bridge that once connected Omdurman with the Khartoum neighborhood of Bahri at the opposite bank of the River Nile on April 27, 2025. The RSF is the most powerful paramilitary group to emerge from the Bashir era. The RSF evolved from the Janjaweed militia, an Arab-majority armed group funded by Bashir to suppress southern Sudanese rebels and fight in the Darfur War. Absolutely, Carrie. I totally need this understanding. I don't have an understanding of this conflict. Oh, Jane, welcome back. The Sudanese is one that was put on the state terrorism. Yes, that's right. That's right. People from Sudan can't come here. Darfur War. The group committed brutal attacks and crimes across the Darfur region, including mass displacement, sexual violence, and kidnapping. The first 2 years of the conflict in Darfur claimed over 200,000 lives, with over 100,000 more since 2005. With Bashir's support, the loosely coordinated Janjaweed was formally organized under the RSF banner in 2013. Since then, the RSF has been employed as a border guard force, a source of mercenaries for the Saudi coalition in the Yemeni war, and a hired security force to repress popular uprisings. RSF leader Hemeti became one of Sudan's wealthiest men by seizing control of gold mines. Before 2019, Bashir hired the RSF to protect him from coups and assassination attempts. Despite this, the RSF ultimately joined forces with the SAF in the 2019 coup to oust Bashir and establish a transitional government and a new constitution. Burhan led the Transitional Sovereignty Council with Hemeti as his deputy, alongside other military leaders and several civilians. Among the civilian members, the council chose Abdallah Hamdok, an economist and development expert, as prime minister. During his brief tenure, he attempted to mitigate Sudan's extreme economic turmoil and project stability to the outside world. However, the SAF and RSF orchestrated a coup against Hamdok in October 2021 and suspended the constitution. In response, international institutions such as the World Bank and International Monetary Fund paused badly needed debt relief and other aid to Sudan. Mass demonstrations demanding a return to civilian control intensified in Khartoum. Hamdok was briefly reinstated as prime minister in November 2021 after agreeing to concede certain governing powers to Burhan and Hemeti. However, he ultimately resigned in January 22 as Sudanese protesters were dissatisfied with the terms of his reinstatement and the violent actions of security forces who had repeatedly beaten and killed protesters. Since Hamdok's resignation, Sudan has had no effective civilian leadership, with Burhan operating as de facto head of state. By early 22, Burhan and Hemeti were left at the helm of the government with the power to direct its democratic transition. Negotiations throughout 2022 over the future of Sudanese governance culminated in a December 22 deal laying the groundwork for a 2-year transition to civilian leadership and national elections. Many citizens rejected the plan due to the contested time frame, the security sector retaining some post-transition state powers, and the failure to hold Burhan, Hemeti, and other security sector figures accountable for violence. Unrest broke out again and persisted from December into the spring, leading to more violent crackdowns on protesters. Major sticking points emerged as the transitional government began to negotiate a plan. Foremost was the role of Hemeti in the RSF. The agreement elevated Hemeti to Burhan's equal, promoting him from general's deputy. The deal also called for the eventual integration of the RSF into Sudan's legitimate armed forces under civilian leadership. However, the deal did not specify a deadline for the RSF's integration into the SAF due to disagreement between Burhan and Hemeti. The two leaders missed an early 2023 deadline to determine conditions for the agreement's implementation, indicating tension over the RSF-SAF relationship and the future of both forces as subordinates of an elected government. As the months passed, the power struggle between Burhan's SAF and Hemeti's RSF continued to stall the country's transition efforts. By early April, SAF troops lined the streets of Khartoum, and RSF soldiers were deployed throughout Sudan. On April 15th, a series of explosions shook Khartoum, along with heavy gunfire. SAF and RSF leadership both accused each other of firing first. The involvement of the Wagner Group, oh boy, and foreign military influence, notably from UAE, has deepened the rivalry at the core of Sudan's crisis. God damn it. I am so fucking sick of all these fucking rich bastards going in and fucking countries to the point where people spend their entire lives starving. Can you imagine living your entire life starving? Can you imagine that? And these fuckers across the world, us included, and leading the way, just fuck with people's lives and just fuck them over for their own fucking petty bullshit greed and power and the desire to subjugate. I just don't understand this. There are people, I mean, there are more people that not. Well, no, actually, there's just everyone in this country has suffered as a result of just these fucking male egos. Empowered by Russians, empowered probably by Eric Prince. I wouldn't be shocked to hear his name come up in this. I mean, what are we doing? What are we even doing? Wow. The fighting in Khartoum has persisted And incidents of violence across the country continued to rise, including in Darfur. The assassination of West Darfur's governor, Khamis Abakar, in June 2023, likely by RSF militants, marked an escalation. Abakar had accused the RSF of renewed genocidal attacks against minorities in Darfur. In June 2024, an NGO report stated that over 235 fires had been set in villages across Sudan, with a majority set by militias in Darfur since fighting erupted in mid-April 2023. Several NGOs, including Human Rights Watch, have documented evidence of numerous mass atrocities committed throughout the conflict, prompting accusations of ethnic cleansing and war crimes. In early November, RSF forces and allied militias killed more than 800 people in a multi-day rampage in Ardmata, a town in western Darfur. The attack reflected a new surge of ethnically driven killings targeting the Masalit in West Darfur. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, warned that the current violence is emblematic of the U.S.-recognized genocide in Darfur that killed an estimated 300,000 people between 2003 and 2005. A statement made by the UN in January indicated that between 10,000 and 15,000 people were killed in 2023 due to ethnic violence by the RSF and its allies in West Darfur. In April 2024, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, remember? She was pretty good, I think, highlighted evidence indicating that women and girls as young as 14 have been victims of sexual violence perpetrated by the RSF. Humanitarian access remains a crucial concern for many international actors, including the United States, which called on the UN Security Council to authorize aid deliveries through Chad. Conditions in the country were already poor before April 2023 and have worsened since. Over 600 people died in the first month of fighting, and attacks have destroyed hospitals and other vital infrastructure. In August 2023, the United Nations stated that the conflict in Sudan was, quote, spiraling out of control as refugees continued to flee the country and the health system collapsed, raising fears of disease outbreaks. The displacement crisis is especially concerning given the instability of its bordering countries. In consequence, the UN Humanitarian and Emergency Relief Chief dubbed Sudan, quote, one of the worst humanitarian nightmares in recent history. On March 8, 2024, the UN Security Council passed a resolution calling for an immediate cessation of violence in Sudan. A few days later, the SAF agreed to indirect negotiations with the RSF, mediated by Libya and Turkey. However, talks broke down on March 11th after a top SAF general rejected the proposal for a ceasefire unless RSF forces withdrew from civilian sites. The statement came after the SAF made significant advances toward recapturing Khartoum. Iranian armed drones partially contributed to the SAF's successes. In the latter half of 2024, the SAF launched a coordinated offensive around 3 metropolitan areas of Khartoum, Omdurman, and Bahri, catching RSF forces off guard. The SAF seized significant territory in the capital for the first time since the RSF took control at the onset of the war. As 2025 began, fighting in Khartoum state intensified, with the SAF retaking key areas around the capital. In January, the SAF drove RSF forces out of Omdurman, recaptured a vital oil refinery just north of Khartoum, and regained near total control of Bahri. Additionally, in February 2025, SAF forces ended the RSF's 2-year siege of Obaid, a strategic city with railway connections to Khartoum. In February 2025, RSF leadership and its allies gathered in Nairobi, Kenya, to advance their plan to create a parallel government. They signed a charter outlining key aspects of a post-war government, including secularism, democracy, a decentralized structure, and a unified national army. In early March, the RSF signed a new constitution, signaling its intent to garner diplomatic leverage and legitimacy. That same month, the Sudanese government filed a complaint to the International Court of Justice, accusing the UAE of complicity in genocide due to its armed support for the RSF. The RSF has continued its attacks on local rebel forces, SAF personnel, and civilians to consolidate its control of Darfur and western Sudan. The RSF captured El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur and the last major city under government control, on October 27th after an 18-month siege. In the following days, reports of widespread RSF atrocities began to surface, including cases of mass killings, sexual violence, and other crimes. The RSF's targeting of non-Arab ethnic groups in Darfur has raised concerns of genocide, according to a report from Yale's Humanitarian Research Lab. Satellite imagery has detected closely packed objects and ground discoloration, which researchers believe to be evidence of human bodies. Reports of famine are exacerbating the country's humanitarian situation, as nearly 400,000 people are facing starvation. So that is a little bit of a primer on some of the context. I'm sure not complete, but a general overview. Giving your background, you have the most voice to express the horrific. I mean, really, it's just so bad. Oh, House panel votes. Her testimony would take place behind closed doors. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Haggard. Okay, well, I have more. There's more. So then I wanted to pull up this, and this is from the 5th of March from the United Nations, the radical leftists at the United Nations. World News in brief, Sudan conflict intensifies, and then we have other information that they're giving, but I wanted to pick up on their Sudan. Here we go. There has been, oh, actually, let me be a girl. Mommy can't see. Here we go. In South Kordofan, confrontations between the RSF militia and the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, have intensified in recent days. This is from this March. The spokesperson for the UN Secretary General, Stephanie Dujarric, said. This includes a drone strike that hit the Dilling General Hospital this week, killing at least 4 patients and injuring civilians. Violence has also escalated in North Kordofan, and the city of El Obeid has faced continued drone attacks over the past 5 days. Humanitarian access is also becoming increasingly restricted, Mr. Dujarric said. Oh, sorry, I didn't say that right. There are growing threats to critical infrastructure and supply routes, including the road between Kosti and El Obeid, raising serious concerns for both humanitarian and also critical commercial supply chains. Mr. Dujarric urged parties to follow international law and ensure, quote, the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure and the facilitation of safe and sustained humanitarian access. The UN Human Rights Chief has warned that the world's economic system is failing. Oh, it's actually, this is another story. I'm so sorry. But anyway, that is the brief update on the Sudan conflict, and that there is this one. This is from December. And this is the area that we were just speaking of. Kordofan cannot become another al-Fashir, Turk warns. The once allied SAF and the RSF have been locked in a brutal conflict since April 2023, with the battlefront now shifting to the oil-rich region's 3 states. It comes after RSF fighters seized El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, last month, following a year-long siege marked by widespread killings, sexual violence, torture, and other atrocities. Mr. Turk urged all states with influence over the parties to take immediate action to halt the fighting and stop the arms flows that are fueling the conflict. Quote, it is truly shocking to see history repeating itself in Kordofan so soon after the horrific events in El Fasher, he said. And this is Volker Turk. I don't know who that is. Oh, he's from the UN. That's right. I'm sorry. The international community stood united then, unequivocally condemning the barbarous violations and destruction. We must not allow Kordofan to become another al-Fashir. The RSF captured Bara City in North Kordofan on the 25th of October of last year. Since then, the UN Human Rights Office has documented at least 269 civilian deaths from aerial strikes, artillery shelling, and summary executions. However, civilian casualties are likely to be higher, as reporting has been hindered by telecommunications and internet outages. There have also been reports of retaliatory killings, arbitrary detention, abductions, sexual violence, and forced recruitment, including of children. Many civilians have reported being detained, accused of collaborating with opposing parties, Mr. Turk added, while fears are mounting over the use of hateful and divisive speech. The violence has also triggered mass displacement with over 45,000 people fleeing to safety within or outside the region. Aid teams in Sudan issued a joint statement that condemns in the strongest terms the escalating violence across the Kordofan region and the ongoing sieges that have cut off multiple cities. The violence is restricting access to food, medicine, and essential supplies and is limiting farmers' access to their fields and markets, heightening the risk of famine spreading across the Kordofan states. Mr. Turk noted that RSF drone strike reportedly killed 45 people in El Obeid, North Kordofan, on the 3rd of November, while an SAF strike in Kauda, South Kordofan, on 29th of November reportedly resulted in the deaths of at least 48 people, most of them civilians. He warned that the towns of Kadugli and Dilling in South Kordofan are particularly at risk as they have been besieged by the RSF and an allied group, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. God damn it. This is why I don't like groups, everybody, okay? This is why I don't like groups. He warned, humanitarians reported that communities remain trapped, facing extreme hardship, severe restrictions on movement, and limited access to essential services and protection. Famine conditions have also been identified in Kadugli, and sustained attacks have been reported in Baba Nusa, West Kordofan, over recent days. We cannot remain silent in front of yet another man-made catastrophe, Mr. Turk said, appealing for an end to the fighting and access to people facing starvation. Have we not learned our lessons from the past? We cannot stand idly by and allow more Sudanese to become victims of horrific human rights violations. We must act, and this war must stop now. The Sudan conflict has created one of the world's largest humanitarian crises, with some 30 million people needing assistance. Humanitarians continue to operate despite the immense risks, reaching some 1.1 million across the Kordofan region. Yeah, so I think that's really it. Oh my lordy lord, look at us, 3 hours. God, I always end up spending way more time. I'm so shocked that everyone at least keeps me on in the background for 3 hours. You guys are amazing. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. Good time not to be in Iran, yeah. Australia accepted them. They were, I'm surprised more members of the team and their staff didn't defect. Of course, maybe, I don't know the whole situation with the women not singing the national anthem or whatever the supposed injury is, but it seems pretty fucking ridiculous to me. So I hope they're all safe. I can't imagine putting myself in that situation. If it takes so long to stop these atrocities in Sudan, who would ever come to our rescue under an authoritarian? I fear no one. Well, and I think that, but it's also, based in some real systemic racism and eugenics, basically, about, it's not, I remember when Jon Stewart wrote a book about politics, like a supposedly humorous book many years ago, and he had this chart where it's like one American equals, 75 Sudanese. You know what I mean? In terms of how the Americans value people. And it was white people versus, everyone else, and showing. So it was kind of like it was a stab at the fact that people in these positions and governments are just willing to ignore, right, what's happening in another country where it's hundreds of thousands of people being, this is what I mean. Just imagine your entire life being starving or being put into a refugee camp or forced to flee or be shot by a drone or be kidnapped or have sexual violence against you or your children. I cannot imagine living my entire life in that state of fight or flight, right? Oh, babe, we are not alone. We are not alone in this fight. And this is why I really appreciate stories like this, where I can learn more about what's happening in a conflict. Clearly, it's hard to feel like you can make a difference in this, but damn it, we have to fucking stand up and say, no, like it's the same thing with Kansas and the IDs for people who are transgender. I remain shocked. I remain absolutely shocked that it would be allowed for the state to remove identification from people and force them into an identity that is not theirs. I can't even compute that. And then, you know, even more like, and then when it comes to these atrocities that are just being committed and just allowed to kind of continue and in some ways being supported, you know, I don't know who we're arming, but I bet you we're arming someone in that conflict. I don't know who, but it's probably whoever the UAE is funding. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know. We don't know. Carrie, trying to find several short flights from Sri Lanka to UK. War zones everywhere. The world is a very sad place right now. Oh, Carrie, I can't imagine. Carrie's daughter is in Sri Lanka and is trying to get back to the UK, and of course, the travel is becoming, or is, subject to great risk. And so, everyone, please keep Carrie and her daughter in your thoughts, because we want her home. We want her home safe. So keep thinking that. I don't know. You know, this is again, these are all self-inflicted wounds that we're doing, right? These are all self-inflicted. We didn't need this war. Iran, yeah, okay, they have a really terrible regime in place. We are not going to be the ones to remove that regime. We know this. It's already proven. And in fact, the fact that the administration had a report from their intelligence and their military evaluators, I guess, we read about yesterday, that there was a report a week before they decided to launch this fucking war that they couldn't win in the way that they wanted to. That there wouldn't be a way to change regimes through military efforts. Raising Cane also raised concerns, and I'm sure that's his job. But he raised concerns that the United States doesn't have munitions for a long protracted war. And then of course he had to kind of not back down from it, because I imagine that he does that, right? I imagine that there is a meeting where they say, okay, well, worst case scenario, XYZ, best case scenario, ABC. And I'm sure that Dump and Pig's Breath go, oh, ABC, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that would be common if you were assessing a situation and planning for execution of a project and saying, what are our risks? What are the biggest risks? What are the least risks, and what is most likely to happen? But the fact that they had a report that said this is not winnable in the way that they want to win, that, like, fuck, man. Yeah, I know. We were reading that UAE funnels military equipment and support through Chad. I don't know what the answer is, by the way. I really don't. I have a feeling there's a lot more of self-determination that should happen on the African continent than the colonizers of this world will allow to happen or give room or actually support in any meaningful way. Because I think the work of democracy is messy, right? And you have to, I don't know how you address really embedded corruption and, and convention, if you will. So, yeah, they disguise it as humanitarian aid. Well, it's not doing very much for humanitarians. But anyway. So the state of our world is not great. But we are going to persevere and try and keep telling the stories of people that are in the front of the lines of this, on the front lines of this. And certainly the people of Sudan are on the front lines of this terror. And that is, no one should live like that. No one should live like that. It just shouldn't happen. That's not the way, that's not what whoever, orchestrated the Big Bang or whatever, I don't know. All those molecules, that's not what it wasn't designed for this. It wasn't designed for this. So, or reality TV. There's two things it's not designed for. This and reality TV. Oh my gosh. We do have a documentary tonight. I'm going to tell you what that documentary is. It's going to start at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, everything inside and out of that. And I'm going to tell you in a minute. I can't remember now what movie someone said in Discord. Oh, we were trying to find it. There was a movie that someone said in Discord that we were trying to find. Right? I think. Oh, man. I'll have to find it. Anyway, there is... Oh, Smilania. No, I don't... Jay, you and I are going to watch Smilania and laugh at it. But I won't subject everybody to it. But we could do that. Aw, thanks, Carrie. That's right. We have to stick together. And we have to support each other. Because it's fucking tough out there. And it's tough to be a human in this world right now. No matter where you are, it's tough to be a human. So, I understand that. Let me see if I can find what this documentary was. God damn it. I have a mind like a sieve sometimes. I really try. Documentary. It's a documentary. Coup 53. Coup 53. That's what I wanted to see. Coup 53. Coup 53. Coup 53. If not, I think I have a couple of other ideas, but whoops. Can I watch it? Can I watch it? Can I watch it? Can I watch it? Oh, here we go. Video on demand. Oh my gosh. Wait, can I really watch it? Oh, I see. Unable to load. Oh, shit. Oh, does it not play in United States? Fuck, man. I really want to watch it. Oh, watch it in the USA. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that. Watch now. Damn. Eventive. I guess I don't have access to that. Shitballs. Okay, well, anyway. We can't watch Coup 53, but I will find a documentary. We have some good ones hanging out there that we've wanted to watch, so I will make sure. But please, come to our Discord tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you don't have the a link, let me put the link in actually, now that we're here. This is just the general This is just the general invitation to the Discord channel. The theater, the movie theater. America did the coup, yeah. The movie theater that we use is available through this link that I'm going to send you. But this is basically the Discord invitation link. It only lasts for 24 hours. So you only have 24 hours to click it. I have to generate a new one all the time. But, you know. Discordio. So yeah, join our Discord. Really, I mean, basically this chat continues in the Discord, but with links. Everybody can actually do links in there. So come on and join the Discord, all right? All right. I really adore y'all. Yeah. And thank you so much for spending so much time with me this morning. You're going to show up at 5:30 just to be, yeah, I know, right? I understand, Neil. I get it. Times change, you know? It's like, I like to keep you on your toes. I don't fuck with Twitter Spaces, but from the disco community comments sounded like they are both stupid and misinformed. Oh yeah, no, these are total Q nuts. Yeah. No, and they're worse than that. They try to do that funny little gotcha stuff all the time because they don't really actually know how to speak to humans. Yeah. And I did tag Ben in the Katie Johnson filing, so he can read that paragraph. I even quoted the paragraph for him and put it in a picture so he didn't have to open the link. But he's got to read what his little baby Trump did. Yep, you're not going to avoid that, Mr. Moore. I'm going to be reminding you. Oh, they know all of this. All of that was disingenuous bullshit. And that's my favorite part about talking to these people, is that all the disingenuous bullshit is ridiculous. So anyway, thanks again for coming. I adore you. I really am grateful to everyone. Thank you, everyone, for the links that make this show anything other than me sitting here drinking coffee and, probably smoking weed. So I appreciate, as does the audience, appreciate all of you who contribute. This is truly a group effort. All right. I'll see you later. Bye.